couple waiver things we're trying to figure out. Not exact things, but just some little.
And it's all right, it's correct. Like,
Yeah, well, yeah, we talked about last night.
They won't have more than I need to turn some the volume on. So it's on the.
yeah.
Bertha. Good stuff coming. See, I'm all. I can hear them.
Good morning. December 18th, 2025 meeting of the
Okay,
Charter
good.
Authorization Panel is called to order. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Arkansas Department of Education auditorium and ask that you please silence all your electronic devices. The goal is to facilitate a fair and responsible hearing. So for the record, I ask each person speaking
Okay,
to
yeah,
please
I
state
did.
your name and title each time you speak into the microphone. I ask that you continue to speak clearly in the
me
microphone
take me
throughout
out.
your presentation for the benefit of the panel, this audience, and the viewing audience. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded, and a transcript of the meeting will be posted on the DESI website. Okay, so again, good morning to everyone, panel members, and Ms. Newton that's joining us online. And so let's go ahead and get started with our agenda. So there is one change to the agenda, so Pulaski County is gonna go first, and then Little Rock is gonna follow after that. Other than that, everything is gonna flow as it is currently stated. So next, I would like to invite up Ms. Rainey so she can give us an overview of the procedures for today's action agenda.
Hi, Julie Rainey, ADE. For the action agenda, all persons, with the exception of attorneys representing the parties who plan to provide testimony during the hearing, must be sworn in by the chair of the panel. The charter school or applicant will have 20 minutes to present its case for the panel to approve the proposed charter school application renewal or request. The chair may grant additional time if necessary. Parties opposed to the charter school's application renewal or request will have 20 minutes to present its case to the authorizer. This is the total amount of time allotted for the presentation regarding opposition to the application renewal or request. The chair of the panel may grant additional time if necessary. The charter school or applicant shall have 5 minutes to respond to any arguments in opposition to the charter school's application renewal or request. The chair of the panel may grant additional time if necessary. The authorizer will follow the presentations with discussion of the public charter school application renewal or request, and questions, if any, to the open enrollment, public charter school or applicant, opposing parties, or both. Additionally, an affected school district may submit written comments concerning the application to the authorizer to be considered at the time of the authorizer's review of the application. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so next up on our agenda, district conversion charter school application is going to be presented by Mr. Freddie Scott of the charter office. Please come forward.
Good morning, Chair and the other panel members that are here and those that are joining us online. I'm Freddie Scott, Office of School Choice and Parent Empowerment. The first item on the agenda is for Pulaski County Special School District Driven School of Opportunity. They have applied to become a district conversion charter serving grades 9 through 12, beginning in the 2026-2027 school year. Driven has been a program at Robinson High School for 7 years, and the district now is requesting a charter conversion status for the program. Joining us here in person will be Rachel Blackwell, Nina Holub, Todd Escola, and Dr. Justin Luttrell representing Driven.
Thank you. Okay. All those giving testimony today on behalf of Pulaski County Special School District, Driven School of Opportunity, please, in person or also on remote, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony or statement you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right, thank you. Then you may begin your presentation. just remind you, you have 20 minutes for your presentation, and each time you come to the microphone, please introduce yourself and give us your title again. Thank you.
All right, good morning. We're starting a timer because we can talk a long time about this. But good morning. My name is Rachel Blackwell. I'm the Digital Learning Facilitator, Instructional Technology for Pulaski County Special School District. And I have been involved in the Schools of Innovation since their conception with PCSSD back in 2017, 2018. And so I'm a liaison with the program. And so Driven School of Innovation has been a part of Robinson High School since 2019, 2020. So this is our 7th year. We have our 3rd graduating class this year. And if you can go to the next slide, you can see our growth over the last 7 years. Oh, that's my job. There it is. All right, so this year we are 47% of Robinson High School, but since last year we did our renewal with the School of Innovation, and with the law changes, we know that our next step in order to keep our waivers and keep doing what we're doing is to come to you for a conversion charter, so that's the reason we're here today. So next year, we plan on having our school with our growth through this next year. So we're very excited about that. Yeah, I'm gonna let Todd go. Oh, let me say one more thing. So School of Innovation, which will next year be the School of Opportunity, is for the 4 core classes. So your math, science, English, and history. So that is what we focus on. We will still partner with Robinson High School next year to help with the electives and the pathways there. So, but we'll tell you a little bit more about what we do.
Will you run this?
Yes.
Good morning. Todd Escola, Driven Lead. So Driven was formed 7 years ago with the idea to be different, to think outside the box, to prepare our students for a career, for college, for whatever's next. And we did this by talking to our students, talking to our parents, talking to our community, talking to our educators, not feeling like we were coloring within the lines. What can we do that's always making student-centered decision-making? And so even on the application, there wasn't a box that we felt like fit what we do. And we start with 9th and 10th grade with mastery learning. Mastery learning means we want students to be empowered to have ownership over their education, to learn to use student voice, to be able to advocate for themselves. We want parents involved in the process. We believe if students have ownership, and parents and teachers can be there to support them and hold them accountable for that. And so mastery learning means not every child learns at the same pace. So mastery learning for us means 9th and 10th graders, whatever they attempt in class, they have the opportunity to improve. So we offer unlimited retakes through a process where students have to use their voice and ask for a retake. They have to meet with a tutor to get one-on-one help. They have to study at home. We require all of our teachers to video every lesson. That to us is something that so empowered our kids because it's a resource. Every time a teacher teaches in class, they have to video that lesson. That student now has a resource of everything taught in that class. That parent can become involved by watching what happens in that class. And so the opportunities for the student to set their own bar. If you make a 50 on a test, why in traditional education are we going over the test the next day and taking them to the next unit or the next chapter without allowing that opportunity, the opportunity to learn that material before they go on or as they go on? And so that's the idea of mastery learning. We believe time is the one thing that we can't have more of. Every school in the state you only have so many hours. You have all these requirements to get done. So a challenge for us was on building time in the day. So we cut out all the extra. Our classes are shortened to the curriculum, the instruction, and we create time in the day for our students to learn time management class or time management skills, to have the opportunity to see a tutor, to have the opportunity to have ownership of what they need and use their voice. Our juniors and seniors, we want them out in the workforce. We want them to job shadow. We want them to visit colleges. We want them to explore what's next. And that makes us different. We offer mentor time every day for 30 minutes where we teach life skills. We believe it's important for our students to know how to change a flat tire. We brought a police officer in and talked to our kids about what happens when you get pulled over, when you see blue lights. What's the law? What are your rights? How do you keep yourself safe? We talk to our kids and let them do basic taxes in the spring. Things that are real tangible to what's next. We believe that's important, and it's not always taught. That's a part of our program. We are non-exclusive. We have students with IEPs, 504s, dyslexia. We are open enrollment. We want students of various levels because we believe our school should look like our community. Our school, if you walk into our school, should look like you walk into Kroger or you walk into Walmart. And we want students to see that real world. We believe it's real important for all of our students to know their why. Why are you in school? What are your goals? You just gave us our job. And we believe that's a must. Every student, every teacher has to know why they're there so that they have direction to make choices to support that why. Next slide. Oh, our students have the ability to accelerate faster in classes. So all of our teachers are required to lay out their entire semester curriculum before we start the semester. We meet in the summer to build that. All of last year's videos are already online. I've got 7 years worth of videos for every class. And so a student doesn't have to be bored in a classroom. I already know how to do this. Well, that student can look at the next day lesson. They can move ahead of the class with support from the teacher, with support from tutors. On Wednesdays is no new curriculum if it's not an AP class. We offer AP and concurrent credit classes, but if it's not an AP class, with that shortened time, on Wednesdays, our teachers stand in front of our students and say, what do you need from me today? We take a time out. We let our students use their voice. I need help. I have questions. That makes us different. Next. All of our students know their why. All of our students have value and are important and have a voice. They've got to take ownership of their education. They've got to take accountability for their actions. We want our students to learn that positive choices have positive outcomes and negative choices have negative outcomes, and they've got to be given the opportunity to make those choices. We don't want the first time our kids have to be on their own making decisions to be when they go to college or career. We want them to make those decisions for 4 years with us while they're still supported at home with their parents. So when they do graduate, their parents and us, and most importantly, the student knows I'm ready. Teachers have to be great communicators. The list is up there. I'm not going to read it all the way through. You've got a manuscript for that. But we believe our parents have to be involved. One of the coolest things we do is once a month we have parent lunch. And we invite all of our parents to come have lunch with their students, be in their world for 45 minutes, meet their friends, meet the parents of their friends. We have extremely high participation in that. I counted in October. We have 338 10 through 12th graders. Over 300 of them had a parent there at lunch in October, and it's that way every month. And that's just building a community. And that's why we believe we have so much support within our community for this program. That's a sample schedule, what it might look like. Again, that's on a 7-period day, and we shorten those blocks. We break the 7-period day into 2 blocks. A non-AP class would be 25 minutes of instruction, but that builds that academic choice time, opportunity for our students to be assigned to a tutor, to be able to go to our Student Success Center and fill out a college application with a counselor, or learn where to find scholarships, or what careers might I be interested in. It allows them to make choices for themselves during the school day. That's where we're stealing time. An AP class you see there is 50 minutes every day. The elective classes that we partner with Robinson High School are 50 minutes according to their schedule. And then we put down, if it is an athlete, we can have athletes in our program as well. So you can be in band, choir, athletics, whatever your interests are.
Hi, my name's Nina Holliv. I am currently the math instructional facilitator at Robinson High School, and for the last 7 years have been a driven math teacher, and at Robinson have been a lead teacher there. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about our teaching and curriculum expectations currently and as we move forward. Just like every public high school, and some of this is redundant for us as educators, but this is part of the information that we share with parents and other teachers who may have misconceptions about what that process of learning looks like for us. But we teach to Arkansas state standards. The curriculum is all partnered with Pulaski County Special School District. So currently we just use whatever is adopted by the district. Our goal moving forward is to start looking at some opportunities for curriculum development, whatever would be allowed within our district for us to sort of pilot and sort of look at how could we utilize what's now been released by Atlas and some of those curriculum pieces that are supported by the district, as well as our learning management system, which is Schoology currently, to enrich and develop a curriculum that integrates test prep into what we do so that it doesn't feel like an aside. So all teachers, regardless of the level of the class, teach at what we consider an honors level. So we know as educators that there's been a progression of pre-AP to honors to, now it will develop outside of that within the coming years. But the goal is to teach, regardless of the level of each student in your class, to teach it at a high level so that we know we can use the supports of mastery learning as well as the staff supports of special ed teachers, of our tutors, of our staff members, so that we are not teaching to a bar that's lower and then hoping for the best for those accelerated students, but holding the expectation academically very high and then supporting students that need that extra one-on-one or small group or whatever level of support that might look like. Again, just to reiterate, our program started at a time before blended learning was really just popcorned out throughout the state and the nation. So right before COVID, we were marketed as a blended learning program, as a school of innovation. And that was where our district adopted Schoology in essentially our request, hoping that we could have a more dynamic curriculum to afford our students and, like Coach Escola said, the opportunity to not only live teach lessons, so we are, as a math teacher, instructing face-to-face in a time where that may have been sometimes happening, sometimes not happening, but also to record so that we could utilize those resources, not only for advancement, but for students who may need extra time or extra resources for their learning modality. We'll assess using Atlas. We each year break down our driven student scores to see how do they perform in relation to the state, in relation to our district, and in relation to our home school. So in comparison to Robinson High School, so that we can monitor and adjust the needs of our staff, of our students, and of our curriculum. I say that, although that traditional tier 1 instruction is happening on a daily basis, that it's a lot of the intangibles that become the outside of the box strategies. Understanding that we have a high level of parent involvement and parent buy-in to our program, we utilize that mentoring piece so that if a student is struggling in one or more areas, a mentor is going to reach out to a parent, and we're going to use our support systems to make sure that students are taken care of. And then all AP classes follow the requirements of College Board. So when we start looking at some of those test data pieces, you can go on to the next slide. We've used ACT on this slide, even though currently we know our Algebra 1, our ELA 9, our Biology, Geometry, and English 10 are all taking the Atlas assessment, but this is more of the expectation for all students, and it spanned the time of our program, so that we're not looking at ACT Aspire compared to Atlas. We can look at just one assessment piece. And so we just used this so the 2022 school year is the first year that we had 11th grade students even able to take the ACT, and just wanting to give you guys the opportunity, and for ourselves to see that progression and growth of achievement of our students. So in comparison to the national average, we're consistently outperforming, even inclusive of our special ed 504 population, and then continually growing. And we believe that that's through that mastery learning foundational belief that all students can learn, and that if they're supported, they can learn at a high level.
All right, Rachel Blackwell, Digital Learning Facilitator. So the last two slides are because we did renew our application for Schools of Innovation at the end of the year. These were our two goals that we set for that. So just kind of reiterate those, and also kind of show where we're planning. So definitely always improving academic performance. We're going to look at several different data points during this year and then beyond, just to make sure that our kids are growing and that we are progressing, like Ms. Hall just said. And our last goal, and one of our most important that we love, is student agency. We love hearing from our students. We get a lot of feedback, and we change things, even sometimes in the moment, based on their feedback. Coach Escola mentioned having an officer come in. That was because the students asked for that. So they get a chance to give their feedback. We've also reached out to our graduates to ask, what does it look like in college? We've changed some of the ways we've done testing at the end of the year, just because those kids may have been exempt from arts exams. So trying to make sure that they're prepared to do some kind of cumulative test for those juniors and seniors. That was important. That was feedback from our first graduating class. Of course, our student success plans, making sure those kids are on their pathway and eventually earning that merit distinction. And then just surveys, just constantly asking students what they're doing, making sure that they're really focused during their academic choice time. It's easy for all of us to get distracted. And so we always want to make sure that they're using that time for productive things to advance in education. And, okay.
Yeah. Todd Escola, lead driven. The program you just heard about is built on two foundational pieces that I don't believe you can have a successful school without. And that's relationships and trust. And I believe we have that with our students. I believe we have that with our community. We're constantly asking our kids, what can we do better? What kind of school do you want to go to? What makes you excited to come to school? Asking our kids, what's your why? Where do you see yourself? Who do you see in the mirror? Making sure that they see in the mirror somebody that's strong, that's capable, that can achieve anything they want with support of those around them. And I think those factors have enabled us to grow at a high rate, to be able to achieve higher than some thought possible. But most importantly, the vision of our school, we want to be the best school in the state of Arkansas. We want to change education. We want to show different ways that won't cost districts extraordinary amount of monies, that's not been done before, that's thinking outside the box and supporting our kids. Thank y'all very much for listening, and I can't believe we finished in under 20 minutes, so that's amazing. Yes.
Thank you. Before we get started with questions, Ms. Rainey, if you would please come forward and let us know if there's any legal concerns that we need to be aware of before we move forward.
Hi, Julie Rainey, ADE. We have no legal concerns.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll start with questions from our panel. Dr. Bacon, you want to go first?
Okay. First of all, I appreciate the presentation, and I'm really impressed by the sort of wraparound culture idea of what you've created. And you said like 7 years, I think you've been in existence. So I'm really pleased to see that, and I know you've been under the School of Innovation tag, so someone on our panel might know something about that. So I know that she'll have more information probably and questions. I guess I'm trying to figure out, since you have been in existence that long, academically, what your student performance and growth is like, and I can't find it. Are you under Robinson High School right now? You're like a component of Robinson High School? Okay, so how can I parse out what student performance on Atlas, student growth on Atlas, or specific to your students?
We actually have that data.
If you can state your name and position.
Oh, I'm sorry. Todd Escola, driven lead. We started to put in the slides the data we pulled. Each year we broke down from the map testing, the ACT Aspire, all that kind of stuff. And we can send that to you. We didn't put it in our presentation. We weren't sure exactly what to put in, what not to put in. Our Atlas scores, we break that down as well. This year we've already started prepping for next year, where we've taken all of our Atlas scores, labeled them 1, 2, 3, 4, been able to identify who do we need extra support to based on their previous Atlas scores of incoming 8th graders that'll be coming into our program, current 9th graders that are currently taking the class, and using that ACT time to support those students to ensure growth, whether it's from a tutor with extra time or their classroom teacher with extra time, and being able to manipulate that schedule to offer them that support.
And clearly you have plans and programs and supports in place. I'm just curious on real data. Is this something DESE could pull for us? I'd love to know what that is to be able to
Do you
really
have your
evaluate,
computer?
you know, the
If
application.
you grab your
just
computer, you can pull it up off that.
specific to what Driven looks like.
Mhm.
Rachel Blackwell, instructional facilitator, or instructional, sorry, that was one of my roles eventually. Digital learning facilitator. Whenever we have our students in e-school, this is something for the last 7 years, make sure it's connected to Wi-Fi. We haven't been able to separate them except for like a classification in e-school. This year we have them in a different building under Robinson, just so we can look at the data separately. Let's see if we have,
Where's your?
trying to see if there's a Wi-Fi we can join. But that's been harder. So we've had to just pull the data, like with the ACT scores, I just get all of them from the counselor, and we pull out our students, so.
So while you're pulling that up, so procedurally, if you're approved for a conversion charter, you'll be a separate LEA.
Mhm.
Correct.
So this will be much easier
Correct.
moving
Correct.
forward to be able to see what performances.
I know last year when we renewed with our School of Innovation, like we had to provide a list of our
Right.
state ID numbers so they could pull and make sure, compare what we were saying with what the state was saying, but I never got it back. I can give you what we had though.
Okay.
If you can.
If you need the Wi-Fi password, it's on that back wall.
Okay.
If you look up Driven data, you can pull, I know all the map, ACT, Aspire, all that compared to state, national, et cetera, is all broken down.
While she's working on that, I'll move to a different topic, and you all can come back and answer that. So you're located at Robinson,
Mhm.
separate part of the building, or are you infused into the totality of what Robinson High School is? Just kind of give me the lay of the land, and then how resources, personnel, curricular materials, facility is shared sort of across the Robinson traditional and what you'll be doing.
Okay, Todd Escola, Driven Lead, I remember that time. Currently, we are housed in a separate building, the Champion Center, which is a one-level upstairs. Our freshmen are housed at the freshman campus. We are under the umbrella of Robinson High School, so everything is through PCSSD. When we move next year, we'll all be located at the freshman campus, so Driven will be its own facility. Our students will walk across the football field to Robinson High School for elective classes. All core classes will be held on the Driven campus. We will still be under the umbrella of PCSSD. We'll be fully staffed, administration, teachers, tutors, counselor, all the things. We submitted it to our board at the November meeting. The board voted unanimously 7-0 to move forward with this application. Is in full support. Our Director of Secretary of Education is here today to support this application. But as far as funding goes, that's where all the funding comes from, et
So
cetera.
you have your own teaching staff, that's the Driven staff, for core classes, but you share resources on elective
Correct.
courses, wraparound type stuff like that.
Yes, sir.
Because I think you said something earlier that I thought was very interesting about videoing every lesson taught, which seems like a great thing for students and parents to go back, double check if they miss, if they're absent, they miss something. That's something to me that seems like that might be helpful for Robinson High School as well. Are these sort of part of the conversation about, even though you're pulling out as your own LEA, how you share, they share with you a lot of stuff, but you share with them as well? I'm curious.
Yes, sir. When I said we want to redefine education, videoing lessons is something that we believe in. Mastery learning is something we believe in. It's been so much fun over the last couple of years to be visited by districts from across the state to our program. I know of at least one district that next fall is planning to incorporate videoing lessons across the board in their school district, mastery learning across the board, just like we do. And it doesn't cost anything, but it's a different way of thinking. And that's what I meant by redefining education, is sharing what we do with other schools, other districts. We have had other schools in our district ask questions about, hey, how could we do this on our campus? and it is just a different way of doing things.
I appreciate that. I'll pass it back, and whenever you get a chance on that data, I'd love to just get some more specifics, but I won't hold everybody up.
Dr. Moore?
Yes, so, thank you so much for your presentation, and I do think so many of your practices are best practices that, and I hope you're infusing that into other schools at Pulaski County School District. So you mentioned AP quite a bit, and you mentioned concurrent a little bit, and I know I'm with the Division of Higher Ed, and we are really focused on expanding concurrent opportunities in Central Arkansas, because the larger districts really have a lower percentage of concurrent than other schools in the state. So as we move towards merit distinction, while AP is one route to get it, as are many other routes towards getting merit distinction, concurrent is one of the, if you were hedging bets, students have a lot of success with concurrent compared to some other options for merit distinction. And we know that's transferable, where AP is a great opportunity. The pass rate's so low, and many students do not actually graduate with credit going into college, where with concurrent, it's around 90% of students graduate with transferable credit to any of our public institutions in the state. So that was my soapbox. Now the question, sorry. Can you speak to opportunities for concurrent credit currently or in the future that you may have planned? Because we're seeing a lot of expansion of those opportunities.
So currently, our school, our program, our school,
Can you
and
state
our
your name and title?
Oh,
Sorry.
Nina Hall of Instructional Facilitator at Robinson High School. I know, I need like a little, like those stickers that say take attendance, I need a sticker. State your name and title.
Maybe we'll work on that after the first of the year.
No, I need the instructional support. I appreciate the reminder. So, Nina Hall of Instructional Facilitator for Math at Robinson High School. Currently, our school and district use A-State as our concurrent credit. Next year, we are looking at partnering in addition with UAPTC for some non-traditional concurrent credit options, as well as some, what do we call those? They're not non-traditional, that's not the right word, but I'm missing. Yes, career-oriented, yeah. Sorry, so I lost my train of thought, but we'll continue, that will be our focus next year as well. So in addition to AP, I think that the difference between what we see in AP and concurrent credit currently is through the schools that we offer, there is more of a progression through AP than there is concurrent credit, where, speaking from the math perspective in particular, you have pre-cal and then AP Cal, and then you have opportunities for AP Stat as well, or in history you can take AP US, AP World, and then AP Gov. So you have a little bit more of that progression, whereas concurrent credit is all based on your partner school and then your current school population. So I think that that's an obstacle that we faced in the past, but one that lends itself, like Coach Escola said earlier, basically to that equal opportunity that we see, just like you've said, that you have a higher probability, we could just say, of earning that concurrent credit if you're taking a concurrent credit enrolled class as opposed to an AP distinguished class. But I think that just kind of goes into one thing that we've shared with parents as well, is that every student is unique and different. And if we have students that are looking outside of the state for their higher ed opportunities, we just want to be transparent and allow every family to make the decision that's best for their student with all of those factors in mind. Did you have anything that you wanted to add? Okay. Yeah.
Justin Luttrell, Director of Secondary Education. Just wanted to add, in being on the task force for concurrent credit in Pulaski County, we've made a lot of strides over the past couple of years. So as of next year, we will offer at least 60 hours of concurrent credit throughout the district. And so Driven's going to have all of that, where we have partnerships with UAPTC, we're starting partnerships with Shorter College. We have various institutions that we're working with that are more than just your traditional concurrent credit. It may be the early college programs at UAPTC and really expanding our pathways. Like we're already talking about expanding pathways. What would that look like in our various feeders? And all of that relates to concurrent credit. It relates to that trajectory for industry and what do the students want and what do the students need. And so as of next year, if all of this were to go through today, they have access to all of our concurrent credit offerings that we would have throughout the district, so at least 60 hours.
All right, wonderful, thank you so
Yeah.
much. And I do want to elevate what you said about parents having options and students having choice, and the fact that you're advising, because we say concurrent credit just for concurrent credit's sake is not good. Like, students have to have some general idea of their future plans, because just because it transfers doesn't mean it counts towards a degree, and especially if they're going out of state. So I applaud your efforts on advising students and parents and having those discussions, and instead of just randomly putting kids in classes just to say they're in concurrent. So that's awesome. And then, sorry, I can't see what I wrote down without my glasses. Can you tell me a little more, especially since you're changing models, because about what your feeder schools are, since it might be a little bit different than when you were just really part of Robinson, and now you're a little bit different. What will that look like? What are your feeder schools? How it work for recruiting students? What's that look like?
So Todd Escola, Driven Lead, for the first 7 years of our program, there has been little to no advertisement for the program. We have had no problem getting students. Our students come from not only our Robinson feeder, but we've been the largest number of school choice within our district of any program across our district for the last several years. We're going into next year with our capacity already met. So I anticipate moving forward, especially moving to the conversion charter with the rules that are set in place for conversion charter. We are going to be limited by capacity. We have students that come from Conway. We have students that drive in from Cabot. We have students that drive in from Bryant. We have students that drive in from Southeast Little Rock. So they kind of come from all over, but it's been word of mouth. Our anticipation is our facility limits how many students we can have. And so we talked earlier before the meeting about the lottery that is in place as far as the public lottery to determine students moving forward after this next year. Because without space, we've never had a shortage of students. We've never had a shortage of applicants. And we don't just pull from our feeder pattern. I would say approximately 50% of each class comes from Robinson feeder pattern. The other 50% comes from all over Central Arkansas.
That's all my questions at this time, and I know you're about to share data. Just congrats on the ACT scores, though. That alone is quite impressive.
Dr. Bashir Duncan?
Yes, might we pause for the data, or should I continue?
Well, I was gonna like loop back around.
All right, okay, I'm happy to jump in.
Okay.
All right. So, first of all, I want to say that I applaud the commitment and creativity and the comprehensive growth of the Driven community. So, I had the privilege of being part of the School of Innovation Renewal last year, and so I've seen that data at that point in time. I've also heard from numerous students from Driven over the years who've led presentations for adults, which in and of itself is a celebration for kids to be doing that. I've also had the opportunity to reach out to you all and say, would you present? Would you host? Would you speak to this leader? And the community's always been really gracious to do that. So thank you. So just a couple of questions. The community has grown, right? You just spoke to kids driving from a broader region of the area. You also talked in the presentation about really wanting the school to mirror the community and the broader community. Could you speak a little bit to the specific supports and scaffolds that are in place to support kids? That's question one. And then question two is, as you've grown and as you continue to grow, how are you ensuring that every kid continues to be known and seen? And what challenges have you experienced or are you anticipating?
Okay. Todd Escola, Driven Lead. I may have to come back to you because you had about 3 questions
I got
in
you.
there. If I got them all. You mentioned support for students. I think that's literally a conversation every minute of the day. how can we better support students? I believe mastery learning is a support for students. I believe being intentional from the application process to meet with families and meet with students and get to know them. Over the last 2 years, I think I've probably sat with over 1,000 families. We meet one-on-one with the families. Before school starts, we're gonna break up our entire school population with our faculty. And over the course of about 3 weeks, we're gonna have one-on-one meetings with a faculty member and a family, because we want every family and every student to know they have a person. You've heard it said before, nobody cares what you know until they know what you care. Well, when our foundation is built on those relationships, we want our students to trust us. If you ask any kid in our program what my job is, every student in our program, all 500 students in our program, will tell you the same thing. Your job is to keep me safe. Physically and emotionally keep me safe. That's my job. We believe that's because they trust us. And that's something that's been earned. I think it's quick to go away. We're very transparent with our parents. We want our parents to be informed. We send home a weekly newsletter. We want them on campus. We want to know how we can best support them. I had a meeting last night with a family about their 9th grade daughter struggling in class. We asked her, what do you need from us? How can we best support you? Our tutors are a support. Our teachers are a support. Our counseling department is a support. Our entire faculty is a support. And we believe in giving grace. Not every kid's gonna knock it out of the park on the first time. Some kids are gonna be a little slower. We want motivated students. We want them to believe they can achieve, and we believe it's our job to give those words of affirmation, to make sure that those students don't quit on themselves. And that's a human trait that I believe all of our faculty, all of our community has to buy into, because without that, we literally have nothing. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to ask you what your second question was.
You bet. So the second question was, as you've grown and as you continue to grow, how are you ensuring that what you just offered continues?
Mm-hmm.
And because that takes a lot of intentionality and time.
Mm-hmm. It does.
And what challenges might you be anticipating?
Okay, so I believe making sure students and parents know what they're signing up for. The reason we have parent meetings is because we want to, it's about an hour and 15 minutes per meeting with each family. We want to explain our program and be transparent. We want every parent and every child to be able to say, this is what I want for my child, or this is not what I want for my child. It's their choice. We're not forcing anybody to come to this program. We are who we are. We believe what we believe. We are open to change. If something doesn't work, we're going to try new stuff, and if it doesn't work, we're going to scrap it and try something else. But I believe the buy-in starts with involving them in the decision-making process. You know, we're hitting kids after their 8th grade year, and there's so much movement across the state from middle school to high school, and we want to involve parents and let them know, we know it's a big choice. This is a big decision you have to make for your child. They're the most precious thing you have. This is what we do. This is what we offer. And if you believe this is what's best for your child, then we want to be there to support you. And if it's not, we want to wish you well and hope that you find exactly what fits your child. And by doing that, I think we get that initial buy-in from our parents and our students, because they know what they're signing up for. They know they need to be involved. They know this is the resources. They know we genuinely care about every single one of our students. And I think that's how we ensure that it keeps going. And then again, asking our kids all the time, what can we do better? Letting them know we're human. We make mistakes just like they do. The biggest challenges, I believe, is facilities that will hinder our growth. Eventually, our vision is that it becomes its own standalone campus. It is difficult sharing a campus with a traditional program from a scheduling standpoint. It can create nightmares. And then you have two different platforms that are equally valuable, and it's difficult sometimes for people to realize that both have value, and it's just a choice for parents and students to decide what fits them best. But I do believe our challenge is that we are capped right now because of our facilities, and we can only fit so many sardines into a can. And so we're there, and that to me is the challenge of our district is how do we build a bigger facility to make, because I told Dr. Luttrell, Driven would be the biggest high school in Pulaski County if we had our own facility. Truly believe that.
Nina Holub, instructional facilitator, math at Robinson High School. I just wanted to share an anecdote to those two questions when you talk about challenges and scaffolds and supports. On one of our feedback forums, we had one of the valedictorians, we had co-valedictorians last year. And one of those co-valedictorians in his feedback form made the point that his concern about our program is the growth, because he started in that second graduating class, which means he was one of 150 students at the time. And watching that development of the program over time gives him a unique lens, as well as us who have been a part of the process, you know, from beginning to where we are now, is we think about not only the physical space, but also that accountability to each student as an individual. So I mentioned originally we were marketed as a blended learning program, but one of those other taglines under the School of Innovation model was personalized learning. And so what did that look like to meet the needs of an individual student? And so I just want to acknowledge that growth as a challenge in itself, but that the awareness of it and the keenness to say, well, what are other schools doing that support that growth and still offer the individualization for students, and understanding that academies is one way to go about it. You know, we've seen, what is it that LRCA does, like houses, you see those different opportunities for students. And really we just looked at it in the last year and a half of, could our grade levels be meaningful communities? Could our mentor groups, instead of being mixed grades, be targeted for all of our ninth graders to have 2 to 3 mentor teachers that support them, so that we can create that cohesive family environment, but also that ownership of those mentor teachers to say, we're not losing that one. You know, they may go wayward and we may have concerns, and we may meet with parents and look at what individual scaffolds or support are needed. You know, we've seen strategies as, and this is hopefully not a barrier anymore, but in the past we would say, well, do they need to turn their phone in to me for the day? Do we need to have a planner for a 10th grader that gets signed by parent and teacher every day? You know, what are those unique to the student and family that make sense for what they're experiencing? And again, part of that is supported through the mentorship process, which is just a classroom teacher who's dedicated during advisory time, which is 30 minutes each day within, and again, this is really just in the last, I'd say 2 years, that we started focusing on grade levels as a community that's oriented toward that grade level and is accountable and responsible for that 30 or so students, to say that on a weekly basis we have parent communication through the student grade check process, and then that piece of parent involvement and communication to say, hey, my kid's struggling, you know, we don't have to ask who do we talk to. They have that direct line with the mentor teacher, and then we pull that in for a community meeting. But you had a third question, I believe.
I think you all addressed
Okay.
my plethora of questions. And I have no further questions. Thank you so much.
And I believe we have Ms. Newton online, and then we'll circle back around to your data question, because I want to make sure everyone gets their questions out, so if something else pops up, you're prepared to respond to it. Give you time to be thinking about your response. So Ms. Newton, do you have any questions for the applicant?
I don't have any questions specifically, because as the panel knows, and some others may know, my background is in social services, social work, and I've listened and been very impressed at how the school's addressing the many needs of parents and students and teachers as well. So I commend you on developing a school approach that addresses a very number of needs, and I commend you. I think that's what the whole nature of charters is all about, is to be able to be flexible enough to do that. Just generally speaking, I don't guess it's a question, but I hope that you stay focused as you are. And it seems like you have a plan to do that in terms of meeting the social and emotional needs of all involved, including teachers. I think is a bold approach to videotape and record the classroom, the lessons that the students are being taught, because that is an irreversible record. So you can go back and look at those things. Again, the intentionality of so many things, whether it be time management skills, whether it be relationship of trust or parental involvement of the tutors to meet the whole needs of young people. And I'm proud to be a part of this panel and to hear this presentation. And I hope you continue the good work. But I guess my question would be, how do you remain focused? And you've had the success. You'll meet more challenges. You will certainly come upon circumstances that will be a first for you, or more challenging than something else. So how do you continue with staff? How do you continue with administration? How do you continue your philosophy of the holistic approach and not be distracted?
Todd, a scholar-driven lead. I think we know our why. I've been in education 31 years. Never been more excited. I told my students I had on my phone to retire in May, and this opportunity has evolved, and it genuinely takes 1 second looking in the face of our kids to remind you why you do what you do. And our faculty, our students, our parents enjoy being together, enjoy the common goal of working with every single student on campus to try to make them the best they can be. And we're committed to do whatever it takes. And I think as long as we know our why, then we're going to be successful and we're not going to lose our way. Our vision is clear. Our mission is clear. And I think when we lose our why, it's time for me to retire. So.
Well, I hope that it doesn't happen before prematurely, but I think the culture. I think the one thing that gets me, it impresses me most, is the culture that's been established. I don't know if you learned a lot as you went along, certainly, but the intentionality of taking an opportunity is just to set an educational culture. And I think that's what I hear, because I don't hear, I would be surprised if the janitor didn't have his part or her part in doing something along the lines of keeping all of this going. So I think, like to say, the intentionality of it and the resulting culture. My whole philosophy with any best practice that's developed or continued is that it be shared, and I think just certainly as a model that could be shared within the state of Arkansas and with others as well. So thank you for what you do.
So you have some data you wanted to bring forward?
Do you want to talk since you put it on?
I don't know if we can share this or not.
If not, just click through it and scroll down.
There's not a way to share it though, right?
I don't know. They're saying no.
Okay. Todd Escola, driven lead. We have multiple sets of data that we've collected over the previous years. We have spring map testing broken down by grade level, compared to national average, main building average, by subject area. Would you rather see it real quick and then me talk about it so you get eyes on it?
I think what I'd really, while you all have been talking, I've sort of been digging around. So I went to on an OEP site and have some data. The thing that I think is the most questionable, and the reason I was sort of asking, can you pull Driven out of Robinson, because I live a minute from Robinson High School and Robinson schools, and so I really thought Robinson schools were really crushing it in recent years academically. But when I look at this data from last year, Robinson High School percentile rank for meeting growth overall was 2, and the percentile rank for meeting growth among the lowest quartile overall was 4. So please tell me that Driven is higher than that.
Our numbers are really good.
Okay.
Matt.
Sure. You may approach.
You always wanted to say that, right?
Finally got it in.
Not this past year, but
Yeah, yeah, and so if you will just kind of restate for the record, like what you were reviewing with Dr. Bacon so that we can all have that and then it could be in the record.
Restate?
Like what graphs you were showing him.
Right, so I had
And
broken.
then our intent is that you'll email that back to the panel so you
Yes,
can have access to it.
Rachel will email that to the panel. We were looking at 2023 ACT Aspire, comparisons to the state at or above readiness level, driven at or above readiness level, and the main building at above readiness level, and showing that comparison.
So in response to Dr. Bacon's question, the performance in comparison, like percentages wise, the two areas that you were.
Yeah, you just read off those two columns you were just showing me that show what driven was
Okay, so
versus what the Robinson as a whole.
yes, sir. Ninth grade science, the driven percent at or above readiness level was 46.38. The main building was 18.54. Ninth grade reading driven was 81.16. The main building was 32.25. The ninth grade math was 50.72. The main building was 21.77. Ninth grade English was 86.96. The main building was 49.19. 10th grade science was 45.61 to 14.85. 10th grade reading was 64.91 to 23.76. 10th grade math was 50.88 to 6.93. And 10th grade English was 89.47 to 44.55.
So this is just
For
an
that year.
opinion, but it sounds like perhaps the whole Robinson High School needs to be driven. Because what you showed me and what you just read off shows that in driven, it's leaps and bounds higher performance than what the school as a whole was achieving.
And we are hopeful that when we were able to pull with our own LEA and have our own numbers, that more districts will be able to use some of the things we use to improve their scores. That's ultimately, as professionals, that's our goal, is to raise the bar for everyone.
And I would tell you, obviously, you're becoming your own LEA. You weren't if you get approved today. That's the kind of data I'm going to be looking for, is the growth specifically for your students, and also I'll probably be looking at it compared to Robinson High School as a whole and some of the other schools in the area. So I appreciate you all taking the time to do that. I know I kind of threw you there for a loop. So.
And I do want to reiterate that to you, when we started this journey as professionals, I looked at our superintendent in the eye and I said, we will be an A school. And our comments to our parents, even in our application meetings with our parents, they both heard me talk about Atlas scores, growth, pathways, graduation, AP, concurrent credit, all those things that go into that school report. That's what's going to be our focus from a school building academically, to show that what we do works.
Okay. Do you all have anything to add to this? Just from the bigger picture, and really, if driven comes out of this and is its own LEA, Robinson's in for a world of hurt. I hope that there's some strategies and plans in place to do something, because even the elementary and middle school don't look like this. It's just Robinson High School that fell to that lowest level of percentile. So, I would be thinking about, if driven becomes its own LEA, what does that mean for the rest of the school? Sorry. Okay.
No, you're fine. Are there any follow-up questions about the data now that we know the numbers there that anybody else wanted to come back around to?
Yes.
Dr. Moore? Okay.
So could you speak to the student breakdown, like your building or your program compared to the high school? What we're looking at for free and reduced lunch and special ed? Do you know the percentages?
I don't have that off the top of my head. I do,
Just race demographics and stuff.
yeah. What we were asked to make, I'm sorry, Todd Escola, driven lead. Our district wanted us to make sure that we provided and had the diversity piece. They haven't asked us about free and reduced lunch. I don't have a ballpark special education students. If I had to ballpark guess, I would say we have 20, 30 in our population right now. I don't know of a comparison to Robinson High School for that. Our diversity piece, we took our community, our school zone map. Our school zone map is about 17–18% African American. Currently, driven population is sitting at about 22–23% African American. We have an extremely high Indian population, higher Asian population. Diversity speaking, I know on our applications for this next class that we'll be getting in was, I believe, 51% white. It was 32% African American. It was a really good mix, we felt like, to maintain that diversity piece, but I do not have the numbers on free and reduced lunch. We haven't collected that data.
Well, first, I'm highly impressed that you could just spit out those percentages. That was,
I get asked all the time.
yeah, that was quite impressive. But I would appreciate if y'all could send us free and reduced lunch and special ed, because, I mean, the disparity between the scores are glaring. And of course, you're doing very different things, so that's one of the primary, and I'm sure the driving, no pun intended, reason for that. But I would be curious if for some reason you're getting the cream of the crop students compared to, and when I say that, that means others aren't the cream of the crop. I don't mean that. But the students who may have the most challenges, if they're being left at the other school and you're getting the students that may have less challenges, that would be interesting as well. So I'd appreciate if you could share that to the charter office.
I was just talking about some of the things, some of our challenges we've had. Rachel Blackwell, Digital Learning Facilitator. But some of our challenges we've had 3 principals during our 7 years, so that's also been a challenge. This year, our special ed teacher left, so any students that were in special ed, because they can't have the inclusion classes, they actually were moved back to the main building. They're still tagged with the Driven label, but unfortunately, because of not having a special ed teacher designated to Driven, this year they weren't able to stay in the main program. Anything else you think? Okay.
But I don't know that I don't think I said it earlier. I said great on the ACT, but wow on your ACT Aspire results and Atlas results. Which was that Atlas that you were sharing?
ACT Aspire.
Okay,
Yeah.
you said ACT Aspire, yeah. That is really quite impressive. So.
One request that may also serve the board that I'm thinking about, you all did an immense amount of work for your School of Innovation renewal, and you also did a lot of comparisons in that and parsing of the data. So I'm wondering if it might be possible just to send that presentation or information when you send the data.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So I will say that I am very familiar with the Driven program because I had a child that went through the Driven program. And it is a very different structure. So as a parent and a spouse that went through very traditional education, when they explain to you how Driven's going to work, you are a bit skeptical at the beginning because you're like, okay, there's not really set deadlines, and you work at your own pace, and you can retake things. And so at first we were like, oh, I don't know how this is going to go, and to be very transparent, strong academic student, but was not very organized. At the very beginning, he was a true 9th grade boy. So, but we trusted the process, and we are very pleased with the outcome. So he's currently in his sophomore year. He's on the dean's list every semester, and at Loyola University in New Orleans, which was very concerning for us, for him to go away. And everything you were talking about, those pieces that you guys incorporate into the Driven model, we see in him now. We didn't see it then. Like I said, trust the process. What we see in him now, he is very self-managed. Even some of his friends, which my husband at first was like, they just say that because they're friends, but they were like, Jace is very focused on his educational outcomes. And we really feel like because of his experience in Driven, that was the outcome. So just a personal take on that I have seen the end product, and what you guys say is what happens. Sometimes we have to question that when people come in front of us and they lay out what the plan is going to be, if that's going to actually be what happens. And so I've seen it in action, and I know that it can work for all kids. I was in the Driven halls and the classrooms, and it is, all walks of life are in Driven. And it is a model that can be successful, and I echo my panel members that this is something I really feel like that others should look at, especially the ability to make students take ownership of their educational learning and experiences. If they are struggling, they need to be able to say that. You know, if they, you know, taking the retakes is not just retaking again, you have to do the steps in order to show that you're ready to do that. And I feel like that, like I said, I've seen the end product. It does allow students to be ready to go to that next step, whatever it may be. If it's college, if it's going into military, it's going into employment, they're ready to be adults when they leave you guys. So I just wanted to say that, and thank you for all the work that you guys have done and you're continuing to do. And I'm excited that this is something that's going to continue for Robinson. I do again echo panel members. There is that concern that when Driven is pulled out, what is that going to mean for Robinson as a whole? Because, you know, you guys, based on what the numbers say, are well outperforming the other students that are in the school. Is what that's going to look like. I hope the district is thinking about that and how to be able to address that, because we don't want it to be an unintended consequence for Robinson High School. The other thing I was just kind of thinking about is the growth. So what does that growth plan look like? If we already know that we're already kind of busting at the seams, but we anticipate that as we go into a charter, then you're going to open the doors for even more students to want to come in. Because we were fortunate, Robinson is our neighborhood school, so that's why we were fortunate to be there. But if you're having students coming from Conway and Cabot and Bryant, and that is only going to continue to grow, what does that look like? How is that going to be able to be accommodated?
Todd Escola, Driven Lead. All I can speak on about that is conversations that we've had on the front end with our superintendent, who, when we made the decision to apply for this conversion charter, the first words out of his mouth were, I've got to start planning now for a facility. And I've got to start thinking about how and where and what is it going to look like, et cetera. So I think we are on the beginning steps of that. As we begin this process, I know it is something that he has said. I don't want to speak too much for someone that's not in the room with us. It will be a process, because we are a large district with lots of needs and lots of communities. So we don't have a timeline for that. For right now, we are capped at what we have, and we will replace based on our graduates with new students coming in. But I would say that our district is aware of the need for a facility, a standalone facility, and that will be a timeline that I can't give specifics on, other than saying that conversations have started and planning will take place.
Is there something that you wanted to add from the district's perspective?
Well, yeah, I'm sorry. We are going to be our own facility next year, but
Okay.
only able to house the core subjects. Our vision is for Driven to be its own high school,
Okay.
and be a standalone high school. That was my reference of being capped, is we can only fit so many students there.
Anybody else want to add anything on that? Were you wanting to? Okay.
Justin Luttrell, Director of Secondary Education. I was just going to echo exactly what he's saying. And we've actually talked about this for a few years now, because we've known that we've been capped at capacity, but still meeting the needs of our district as a whole, and still thinking about this. This is a big, huge first step in what that planning process is going to look like. So based on what happens here today, will lead us to a lot more conversations in the future.
Are there any other questions from any other panel members?
Can I just ask from an admissions perspective, you hit on, I mean, your limited facility, limited space, you'll have a cap. How do you decide who gets in? Do you run a lottery? Do you, you take every student who applies for this next year? How does that look for you guys?
Currently, the first 7 years we started with just an application, and then based on student feedback that we got from our graduates, from our current students, we moved to an application and then a parent meeting, to where we explain the program and the parents decide. We do plan to move to a lottery moving forward, because we feel like we will have more applications than we will spots, opening seats. And we would adhere to exactly what we read when we started this process, as far as what it looks like for a district conversion charter with the public lottery, et cetera. Even talked about making it a big big deal about getting your, like the lotto or something, so, but that's the plan for the future, yes.
Any other questions? Ms. Newton, did you have any other questions?
No.
Okay, right, thanks. Okay. All right, if there's no other questions, then I will accept a motion on the district conversion charter school application of Pulaski County Special School District Driven School of Opportunity.
I move that we approve the Pulaski County Special School District Driven School of Opportunity as a district conversion charter.
And I second that.
Okay, I have a motion by Dr. Moore and a second by Dr. Bashir Duncan. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, good. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Next. Yes. Okay, so we're gonna take a 10-minute break. Does that work? Yep. And we will be back at 10:25. 10:25. Next on our agenda, we have the district conversion charter school applicant, Little Rock School District, Hall High School.
Good morning.
Morning.
Freddie Scott, Office of School Choice, Parent Empowerment. We have the Little Rock School District who has applied for a district conversion charter school from Little Rock Hall High. The charter is grades 9 through 12, scheduled to begin school year 2026-2027. Here to present on behalf of Little Rock Hall High is Dr. Jamal Wright, Superintendent of Little Rock School District, Dr. Shay Loring, Assistant Superintendent, and Carlton McGee, the Principal of Little Rock Hall.
Okay. Before we get started, all those giving testimony today on behalf of Little Rock Hall High School, both in person, is there anybody that's online today? Okay, great. Please stand and raise your right hand. Okay. Do you swear that the testimony or statement you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, very good. You may begin. You have 20 minutes for your presentation, and as a reminder, each time you come to the microphone, either presenting or speaking, if you could please restate your name and title for the record. Thank you.
Good morning. To the members of the Charter Authorization Panel, my name is Carlton McGee. I am the principal of Hall High School. I appreciate this opportunity to show you all what we hope to do at Hall. So we are applying for a charter authorization panel. For a charter for Hall High, so that we can provide a blended learning model and a virtual option for our students. The vision and mission for the school, our vision is to empower every student to design their future through personalized learning, early college opportunities, and real-world experiences. Our mission is to provide personalized pathways through flexible blended learning, combining in-person support with virtual instruction, preparing students for enlistment, enrollment, and employment. So why a conversion charter? The conversion charter, first, it enables us to provide the virtual learning component to our students, which is also essential for our blended model, as well as those who are desirous of a virtual setting. Secondly, it provides an operational flexibility with our staffing and scheduling, and allows us to provide a truly personalized learning experience for students. It also permits us to accommodate early college opportunities for our students and create genuinely student-centered pathways and I'm using the term pathways or tracks, however you want to look at it, that respond to individual needs rather than a one-size-fits-all model. The blended pathway model requires daily in-person attendance. Students would still attend every day. Students will work through the digital curriculum, and it will also be supplemented by our teachers and project-based learning opportunities. The curriculum will be provided through Edgenuity, and the supplemental parts would also come from state-approved curricula such as My Perspectives, Savvis, which is a company that the state has approved for math instruction and different things of that nature. Our virtual pathway provides a fully flexible student option for students whose circumstances require it, whether they're working, managing family responsibilities, or for whatever reason just need a different structure. These students still receive success coaching and progress monitoring, they just don't attend on a daily basis. Both pathways use the same rigorous curriculum. Both have accountability measures, and both prepare students for success after graduation. The key differentiator is that we're not offering virtual as a, as a standalone, but we're offering the blended model as well. Okay. I'm doing something. Okay, here we go. Student population. Excuse me. Students, who are we serving? We're serving students who seek accelerated learning opportunities, early college opportunities, students who need flexibility for work or family responsibilities, students who are interested in earning college credit during high school, all of those types of people, as well as students who thrive with a personalized pacing but still want daily in-person instruction. Critically, we're servicing students from any academic level who simply prefer a blended learning model over the traditional instruction. The challenges that we're addressing are the one-size-fits-all pacing that unfortunately leaves some students behind or may cause some students to become bored. We're addressing the need for individualized support that is not on a level that may not be provided in a traditional setting, and student engagement in real-world opportunities and relevant activities. In terms of curriculum, the online portion of the curriculum, like I said earlier, will be provided through Edgenuity. The in-person parts would come from the state-approved curriculums within the various subject areas. Our instructional approach transforms the teacher into more than just a teacher. Teachers would also serve as success coaches for students. We would have a 30-minute or a period in the day where students will go to what I'm going to just kind of colloquially call homeroom, and teachers will provide success coaching to those students, making sure that they're up on their work, making sure that they are utilizing best practices as it pertains to studying and learning the material. Excuse me. Teachers would use real-time data provided to them through the platform in order to provide targeted support for students. The typical class day could, it's not relegated to this, but definitely could look like introductory portion, instruction through lesson. Then students would have an opportunity to work in small groups while the teacher moves around and provides support through those small groups based on the data that is provided through assessment. And after that, there would be individual time for students to work. Again, with the project-based learning portion, we are looking at once, maybe twice, we have to see how it pans out, that a term that students will participate in project-based learning that is developed by the teachers. In terms of the courses, we would offer, some things are not on there. I'm sorry, that's an older version, but we would offer the traditional core courses. Some things that aren't on there are advanced geometry, AP statistics. We also offer concurrent credit, as well as, like I said earlier, the model would allow time for if a student were, let's say, a senior and they wanted to start going to college. We've had some just preliminary discussions with Euler and Philander about students enrolling in college and starting some of their classes while they're finishing up in high school and what that would look like. So, in terms of academic accountability, our goal is to have over 95% graduation rate, over 80% CTE completion, and above state average in terms of growth, both overall and in the lower quartile. We would monitor and assess daily through Edgenuity. We would participate in district-wide Atlas interim assessments, as well as the summative assessment, the state summative assessment, and the unit assessments that are provided through the HQIMs that our teachers are going to use. Teachers would also look at data on a weekly basis in teams. They would look at data on a daily basis, but in teams they would look at data on a weekly basis, get together in order to address student needs. And we would review that data, have large reviews, I guess you could say, every 9 weeks, quarterly. Oh, that should not be, okay. Our projected enrollment is 200. We're looking at 200 students for next year. We'll have a cap of 260, but we're looking at a projection of 200 next year. Staffing, 10 to 15 teachers or certified staff, and 5 to 7 non-certified individuals. Again, the teacher, well, I'm not going to repeat that. We've already talked about that. In terms of engaging the community and the community support behind this idea, we had a few different community meetings. We've gotten feedback from students, parents, and community members, as well as teachers. And some of the key things from the students were a strong interest in the flexibility, the ability to start college courses prior to graduation, the personalized pacing with the in-person support. Students were very interested in that opportunity. Parents, in terms of the parents, parents were very interested in the small group instruction, the success coaching, and the project-based learning. And the staff has been interested in the blended model and what that means in terms of their ability to provide individualized support for students. We're going to skip those. All right, in terms of the impact, for the district, we want to be able to provide parents with options. We want to give them choices that they feel comfortable with, and we know that there has been a strong uptick, if you will, in terms of parents who are interested in virtual opportunities since the pandemic. We want to provide that, as well as, like I said, the middle ground of the blended learning opportunity for individuals and families who are interested in that. We also are looking to provide options for parents so that they don't have to go outside of Little Rock School District. They can remain within the district and receive the type of learning that best fits them and that they are interested in. We want to do this at Hall. Hall is a historic school here in Little Rock. A lot of people are connected to Hall. Dr. Bacon once worked at Hall, so we're definitely invested in Hall as a school, and so we want to make sure that we provide an experience for students that will be positive and attractive to families. In terms of our timeline, we've already gotten school board approval. We're here for your review, and we will start, provided that we are approved, we will start planning implementation and everything, further implementation in the spring, and training in the latter part of the spring and into the summer, so that we can hit the ground running in the fall. So, okay, that's my presentation. I'm sure you have questions.
Okay. Before we get started with questions, Ms. Rainey, can you please come forward and let us know if there's any legal concerns we need to be aware of before we move forward?
Hi, Julia Rainey, ADE. We have no legal concerns.
Okay, thanks. We'll start online with Ms. Newton. Do you have any questions?
I'm sorry, who were you asking for? I'm having some difficulty hearing.
Do you have any questions for the applicant?
Okay, you're speaking to me.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
You know, I was looking, and it's not necessarily fair, to have a comprehensive, plan based on the last presentation. I didn't hear, and I don't understand, you referred to the, blended learning model, and teachers are interested as to how to do this. Did you see anything, did you hear anything, and I'm not suggesting that you, are there things that you want to explain to us, because I'm not sure I understand exactly what this is going to be other than a virtual model? What's different, or what are the strong points, or how do you intend to engage in planning teachers, parents, students, in developing this model? It's bare bones as far as from what I understand. I understand that you want to look at gaining college credit, but how that's going to be done, how students going to be recruited, to what extent are they still going to be a part of the main campus, or is this the virtual or whatever? So I just have a lot of questions based on, I looked at your presentation, and it was general in the sense that we plan to do this, that, the other, but the how-tos and whys and what we've learned from other organizations that have tried this and what we plan to do differently.
Okay.
And I'm not an educator, and I don't apologize for that, because I think I bring maybe a different perspective in terms of the questioning and looking at the necessity to involve a very group of people in planning, to give some examples of how this has been tried in other places but didn't work, and we're going to do it differently, those type things. And I usually am able to form some questions after I've heard that people from academia kind of pull out some things. But I'm from the social services, social work perspective. How are you prepared to do some things differently, and to not make the mistakes some other folks have made, not calling names or anything, but this is what we plan to do, and this is how we're going to track. Your population of students in terms of where they come from, as opposed to their educational backgrounds of their parents, and being able to understand and participate and to be a part of the process.
So, Ms. Newton, do you want me to let others start asking questions and then come back around to you, or do you want the applicant to go ahead and start?
Yeah, I think so. I think that would help, but I still have basically the same questions, and usually there's, and I don't have the parts, but I'm not looking, the comprehensiveness of it all is not clear to me. So that would be a good thing, but still I think basically I have some of those same questions.
Okay, so I'll start with somebody else and then I'll come back to you. Is that what you said is okay with you?
Okay, great.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay. I'm Dr. Bashir Duncan.
Yes, and thank you all so much for your presentation, and also considering the flexibility and the needs of your students and families and engaging with them. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about Hall's history and some of the specific requests, just some more specific requests that you've been hearing from your community that let you know, because from reviewing your documents, it looks like you have a couple of different pathways, and those are really set up to serve your students. Can you speak just a little bit more to that feedback and those requests?
Yes, so as I said before, we have been engaging the community in various meetings and receiving feedback. One of the things that our community has shown, our parents and our students have shown an interest in, is a very small environment when it comes to school. Very interested in that, and that is one of the things that we're trying to provide. That is one of the reasons we are seeking a charter, is to be able to do that in an effective manner. Another thing that people have shown interest in is the virtual component. We have offered virtual in just a virtual model, not so much the blended, in person, but the virtual model, and we do have interest in that as well from the community. And so we want to continue to provide that, but we want to expand that. And as I said before, one of the things specifically parents were interested in is the level of support and the ability for what I would call a self-paced educational model that the blended model provides. If a student, let's say, needs extra time on a particular lesson, then they're able to do that without penalty. If a student already has knowledge of the content of a particular lesson, they're able to move forward and work on the next lesson. And the ability for the teacher to break the students up into small groups, move around, and provide that support at that level, or for them to work individually and the teacher to move around and provide that support, allows for that to happen in a blended model. And so that's kind of the direction that based on that feedback, the direction that we've kind of gone in.
Good morning, Shay Loring, Assistant Superintendent. Speaking to the first part of your question about the history of how high school has been a mainstay in our district for several years. It was at one time a very large high school. Over the years, due to a number of factors, declining enrollment, the school population has grown smaller. One of the things that has been requested and asked about by our parents and community is a smaller option within our district. Currently, outside of Hall, our smallest high school is about 1,100 students. And so that was a major component. Parents wanted the option of a smaller school for students who just did not feel comfortable for various reasons, maybe accustomed to
Go ahead, you're fine. Yeah.
may be accustomed to or need, for multiple reasons, a smaller environment. It creates a more close-knit community. You would have the opportunity to have the same teachers in some instances for multiple years, which builds support, trust, all of those things that are important to parents and students. The second major thing, as Mr. McGee said, was the option of flexibility to move at your own pace, to have different options. We currently have a virtual component at Hall High School, so we will be continuing that component for those students who want that option, but then also including some of the virtual learning, digital learning options in our in-person instruction to allow flexibility to incorporate more project-based, career-focused pathway learning opportunities without having to choose between, do we shorten instruction time here and cut time that teachers are providing direct instruction in order to provide these opportunities? So the two major components that we are seeking to focus on and answer for the community are the small high school environment and the flexibility options.
So thank you for that. So the virtual component, you're continuing and expanding, and the elements of the smaller in-person option, what are some lessons learned that you're considering from the virtual component, and what might you be anticipating for that smaller in-person group, just to ensure kids are getting what they need?
Shay Loring, Assistant Superintendent, Little Rock School District. One of the things that we figured out post-pandemic is that we can provide more options to things that we may not have in the school through some of our digital platforms. One of the things that we are doing currently with our virtual students, which actually kind of inspired some of the planning for our charter request. Currently, Hall is a small high school, small traditional high school with a virtual component. And what we're doing is blending those two things for those students. So our virtual students then will have options of being in a sort of a hybrid model where they can take classes online, but if there is an in-person elective that's not offered virtually, they can come to campus to take that class. And then our in-person students have the option of taking additional coursework, advanced classes that we may not be able to offer because the staff and the school is so small through the virtual platform. So one of the biggest lessons is taking those two options that we have there, kind of merging, keeping them separate, but also blending some of the components to get the best of both worlds of a traditional school and an online school, so that students have the flexibility to do both and get the most advantages out of both of those programs, if that makes sense.
I would also say, one thing that we learned was that virtual students need just as much support as in-person students. And so when I spoke earlier about the success coaching component, that arose from that, from a lesson learned from the virtual school. And so allowing, carving time out of the day so that teachers specifically can support students, not only the in-person students, but the virtual students as well, through that success coaching is something that we're implementing as a result of lessons learned.
Last question.
Go ahead.
So thank you for that. And the success coaching is something that I've seen work in schools that I've visited with across the country. And so it's really great to hear that you all are considering that for both your in-person and your virtual students. So with the virtual students they'll have access to electives on campus. How will they receive access to tutoring or success coaching for core classes?
So like I said, with the success coaching component, there would be, I'm just going to use the company Zoom, it might be Teams or whatever, but there would be some type of video interaction where students can Zoom in with their teachers at a particular time during that success coaching times that's carved out for our virtual students, and they would be able to receive tutoring or study habits, or whatever it is that they need to be successful at the content. They would be able to do that. If for whatever reason a student desires to come to campus to receive some type of support, then we would schedule that as well.
Okay, so then there's protected time for those students to receive tutoring or support within your master schedule?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Shay Loring, Assistant Superintendent. I wanted to add, our virtual students already have the benefit of the tutoring hours and the coaching and mentoring hours that is built into their teachers' schedules. We call it office hours, and they're required, both the teacher and the student, to participate in a certain number of office hours weekly. So we're actually providing that component now to our traditional students. In addition, virtual students already have that option built into their schedule.
Thank you so much. No further questions.
Thank you for your presentation. So I have a few questions, and this first one, I apologize if you already said this because you may have stated it while I was looking through things. On your projected enrollment of 200, what do you project to be those that are virtual and those that are not virtual?
Out of the 200, we anticipate about maybe 175, 150 in person. I think we roughly have about 61. We have 61 virtual students currently. I know that's not exactly 200, so I said we'll have a cap of 260, but that's what we anticipate. So we have to get through this process and get projections. Get the number of course requests and things like that before I can give you a definite number, but that's our projections.
Okay. And then you mentioned CTE pathways, and I can see online, like on the AD data center, what pathways it said that you offered, but it also says through district partnerships in here. Could you tell me more about your CTE pathways?
Yes, we would be offering most of what we currently offer. On campus, we have computer science, we have, what do we call it? Well, now, yeah, we have, that's what, food science and nutrition. I don't want to call it home ec. People get offended.
No, please don't do that.
So, but we have that pathway as well as a business management pathway. We also, with the district, have our Metro facility, which has a number of different CTE pathways. It has auto body mechanic, it has culinary, it has the LPN program where students can get certified as LPNs. before they graduate. And so there are a number of options. We have 3 on campus, but like I said, Metro has several.
Okay, so your current student body, how many students take part in those opportunities?
All of them.
All of your students are on a CTE pathway?
Except for freshmen, but all 10 through 12th graders are on a CTE pathway. That's something we make sure we're very serious about.
Okay, that's great. And then as far as concurrent credit, and I know that that's something that's evolving in your school district and something that's growing, and partnerships are being forged across Central Arkansas. For the CTE pathways, what's that concurrent credit look like, just specific for them? Is Metro, or y'all partnering now with?
Yes, we currently have a MOU in place with UAPTC for our concurrent credit program courses at Metro. So we offer concurrent credit courses at Metro. All of our high schools offer blended AP and concurrent credit courses, and 3 of our 4 high schools now are offering standalone concurrent credit courses. They will all be offering standalone concurrent credit courses next year. We also recently just signed an MOU with University of Arkansas at Little Rock for an associate's degree track program.
Saw it on the news.
Yay. That will start next year. Will be our inaugural year at Southwest. Once we get that program rolling, the second school that we will start that program in will be Hall. We did not want to try to start a new charter program and an associate's degree program the same year, so that is part of our phase-in for concurrent credit.
Okay. And then, sorry, I have a few more questions here. So, your most recent letter grade was, I'm sure, not what you had hoped for Hall. And being a D, and in our state, 12% of schools have Ds and 7% have Fs. And we know that virtual learning doesn't have a great track record, even when it's done well. Just the overall track record of virtual learning is not that of in-person, face-to-face learning. So talk about that a little bit, about your current performance and how you think this new model is going to somehow change student success.
So yes, our current school letter grade is a D. However, some things that we're very proud of is that our English ELA department had, we were in the top 7% in the state for growth of the bottom quartile in English. We were 69 in the top, 40% for science, top 30, excuse me, top 30% for science, top 40% for math, in the bottom quartile in terms of growth. We're very proud of that. What we want to do is, through this blended model, we think that we will be able to shore up some things and increase our growth levels, not only in our lower quartile, but across the board. The ability for students, again, to work at their own pace we think will provide success. There's research to support that, and I've included that in the presentation. And so that's the direction that we think will best support our students at this time.
Okay. So additional question, PBL's project-based learning is mentioned a lot, and it says teacher designed. So a few questions on that. First of all, are your teachers trained in how to develop project-based learning? Because that's very, very challenging. And I know you said training's coming up, but like that would be a big learning curve between now and next school year. And then how do you do grade level project-based learning when the students are working at their own pace so much? How is that going to look? Will that project-based learning be grade level? And how does that align with standards? So just speak more to that, how that will work with the virtual component. How are the virtual students doing the project-based learning, and a little more about that. Thank you. So
yes, in terms of the project-based learning, yes, it will take quite a bit of training, and that's why we want to kind of get the jump on it in the spring. That's a huge part of the training. That when I said in the latter part of the spring, we want to go ahead and start training once we get the planning and things in place. That is a huge part of that training, that and the success coaching component. In terms of what would it look like in class, it would look like more of because when we talk about self-paced, we don't envision that a student would be at the end of the 9 weeks and would be still on the first lesson. We envision that there would be so much support and so much meeting of the students' needs that there kind of would be moving along at a certain pace, you know, for the ones who need more support. And so the projects would be based around the lesson, you know, at that time. So ideally, there would be students ahead. There may be some students still focusing on this, but the project would provide, you know, some more clarity, I think, around the lesson itself, give the kid and the student an opportunity to learn more through the interaction with the projects. In terms of, you talked about the virtual students and involving them in the project, that would happen through, when we talked about the virtual students checking in with the teachers and doing that, that would happen through that component. And their projects may look a little different than the projects that are going on with the in-person students because of the virtual aspect of it, but they would also participate in that project-based learning activity.
Okay. All right, those are the only questions I have right now. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay, Dr. Bacon?
Thank you. And thank you all for your presentation and the thought that you've put into the idea for Hall. As Mr. McGee said, I was the principal at Hall High School from 2005 to 2008. And I do know that once you're a warrior, that spirit stays with you for the rest of your life. And so I've definitely followed along and tried to stay abreast of the different things that have gone on at Hall over the years. I do, just as a citizen of Little Rock who reads the newspaper and watches the news, I know this has sort of been a tortured process to get to a conversion charter application. I feel like I read at one point perhaps Hall would become an alternative setting, combining a variety of programs. I think I read at one point maybe Hall would close altogether. And then it felt sort of like at the last minute, this idea of becoming a conversion charter. I think I even read that the board was not even unanimous in supporting this motion. I think it was at a 5-2 vote. So I'd be curious from the big picture why perspective, why are we here today having this discussion? And what does this mean for the totality of Little Rock School District?
Jamal Wright, Superintendent of the Little Rock School District, and so I'll try to provide some context for that. And so when we think about the Hall campus in totality, this district conversion charter that we're applying for is one piece of it. Hall is a humongous campus, and as you have heard already, we've gone through declining enrollment at Hall for years and years and years and years, and so the plan for next year is to relocate our alternative school. We have done a complete transformation of our alternative school, which is located on a separate campus in a facility that is not prime and best suited for students in our alternative program. So part of the campus will be dedicated to students in our ALE program. We also have our Accelerated Learning Center program, which we just relocated to Hall's campus this year. That program is for overage, undercredited students to help get them back on track, and it's actually one of our more successful alternative programs in our district. So we'll have the ALE, we'll have the ACC, and then what we're proposing for this district conversion charter is the small high school that provides a different model and a different approach for parents and for families, for parents and for students who don't want to attend our traditional larger high schools. And so I also don't want to get the virtual school that we already have, that's already operating on Hall, conflated with what we're trying to do with the smaller non-traditional high school. That component will still be there, but we also know that for some of the students that we're trying to target, they may not have the capacity to work independently, which is why we're putting so much emphasis on having in-person instruction with the teacher serving as both teachers and success coaches for those students who need some additional support. So when you think about, even though those other two programs are not associated with the district conversion charter that we're seeking, Hall is really, we're envisioning Hall to really be almost like an alternative learning education oasis for all of our non-traditional programs. In terms of why we went with the district conversion charter for the small non-traditional high school is really influenced a lot by staffing and cost. As you know, it is very expensive to run a small traditional high school as we have been running with Hall with so few students. We currently have under 300 kids at Hall. And adhering to all of the state standards with staffing and all of those things, our per pupil expenditure is exploding at Hall. So when we think about the flexibility that we need around staffing and teacher licensure, we were advised that the best recourse to take would be to seek the district conversion charter, which will help alleviate a lot of the burdens that we were trying to figure out how we were going to staff and structure the school with such ballooning staff costs. And so that's why we ended up that's why we're here today to seek the district conversion for the small non-traditional high school version of the program that we're seeking to get approval for. Hopefully that answers your question.
My next question was going to be about efficiency, because Hall is a big building. I know we had 12 or 1,300 students when I was there. So ALE, how many students is that? I know it may be changed, but what is that anticipated?
Currently, our ALE max capacity is 180 students. ACC's max capacity is 120 students. So both of those programs will be there. Also, in terms of building utilization, we do use a portion of that building now for district level administrative offices by office. Is at Hall, along with the other two assistant superintendents and our staff. So what you knew as the 600 building is now an administrative building.
Okay.
So there are a couple of things that are occurring in that building to help with efficiency and utilization.
Okay. With these three potential different schools there, ALE, ACC, Hall as a conversion charter, is there shared resources, shared staffing? Is that part of an efficiency model, or?
Yes, so there'll be shared resources. Right now, last year, all three programs were in three different places,
right.
So we had to have 3 administrative staffs, 3 office staffs, 3 counseling registrar staff. So we'll be able to combine some of our administrative staff supports, counseling support, front office supports, also security supports. It will allow us to have more social worker support. We have a career coach through UAPTC right now at Hall. That person will then be also able to provide services to the other 2 programs. My mind just went blank there. Our library media services was always a challenge for ALE. We'll be able to share those facilities and services now with the 3 programs. And as he said, our ALE is currently in an elementary building, so this will also provide them access to an arena, multiple gym spaces, field spaces to do a cafeteria, some of the things that we don't have that can now be shared spaces and shared staff and resources for all 3 programs.
Okay. I really appreciate that. That helps a lot in understanding sort of how this all fits into a bigger picture. I would like to know the 2 board members that didn't vote to pursue this conversion charter, what was the rationale for that?
If I can remember, it was concerns about and I'm going to use their term that they use, the beginning of the charterizing of the Little Rock School District. That was the biggest concern.
Okay.
And I think
so
that
not
really
specific to this program, this idea, this hybrid virtual piece, that was more big picture politics.
Yes, correct.
I'm just trying to think. I'm really stuck on the efficiency piece, and I do feel like you all have helped me a lot. I know you're opening a new high school. When is the new high school open?
Fall of 27.
So not this next academic year, but following. And that is built for 1,200 students.
Correct.
And it looks amazing. I told the last group, I live not too far from that. I get to see it occasionally. It's amazing. I think you did a phenomenal decision making in naming Stephen Helmick as the founding principal. I think that you're setting that school up for tremendous success. And so I just wonder where the student, I know we're only shooting for 200, 260 cap. Are there enough students to go around to get Hall enough students to feel like it's viable and we're able to do what Mr. McGee and what I know you all want to do for students and for families.
Yes, the students who actually chose Hall High School now are all students and families who wanted this smaller environment. And so we actually have more students at Hall High School now than we were projecting to have, because we know that for some of the students, sports is a big motivator for them. And so, we've been very, very clear that this high school, although we will have extracurricular activities, if sports and athletics is the thing that's really driving you, then you should probably look for at one of our other traditional high school offerings. And so we already have a lot of parents and families who want a smaller environment. And so we do think it's important for us to have that option in addition to our larger traditional high schools.
And how many students do you currently have, that are sticking, that'll roll up? I know you'll maybe graduate some students, but how many do you think are at Hall that we know are planning to stay, at least what they've told you?
I think a lot of it is dependent upon this decision today. So folks have just been hesitant to make a final decision. And we've been, although we're in open enrollment right now, we've been, just trying to walk a cautious balance. We don't want to overpromise and not be able to deliver. And so a lot of it hinges upon the decision that's made here today.
And so in terms of students aren't applying for Hall right now, or they are?
Some are, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Do we
some
know how
definitely
many, do we know how many applicants there might be at this point?
So our first round of open enrollment, we did a roll-up of our students, and then we opened up for our transfers and new applications. I think the last report I got, which was last Friday, I think we were at about 57 new applicants. These are students that are not currently enrolled in Hall, and I think we only had a handful, I'm sorry, I don't have the exact number, of transfers, students who were at Hall that were saying we would like to attend a different high school. So the majority of the students that are there, obviously not including the seniors, have not indicated that they plan on transferring. So that projection gets our numbers to about a little bit under 200. Most of our virtual students have re-enrolled, so that would get us right at the 200 number. If most of our 60, well, it won't be all of our 61, it'll be about 45 virtual students returning, not accounting for the seniors.
And I think this may be one of my last questions. Is this the only virtual option in Little Rock, or do the other high schools provide virtual option? This would be the virtual option.
This is the virtual option.
Okay. 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 That's what I have right now.
Okay. Ms. Newton, back to you. And you're muted. I don't know if you're.
I'm sorry, I said, no, I don't have any questions. All the potential questions have been answered.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation and the additional information. It's kind of helpful to get a better understanding of the intent of the application and your goals for the school. So you said that every student is on a CTE pathway, so every student is moving through all 3 levels within a pathway, and just wanted to get more details on how that's happening for your school and for your students.
So yes, we make sure at when students sign up for classes that for freshmen, we have what's called freshman seminar, and that is a class that helps students decide, or one of the things that it does is help students decide what pathway they want to go on, whether they need to sign up for Metro, whether it's something that we have on campus. But yes, when we sign up for classes for the next year, we make sure that all students sign up for a CTE class that is within the pathway that they have chosen, and they go through all three levels and graduate as a completer.
Now, is that aligned with your partnership with the academies, or is that something separate and apart you guys are doing? How do you intend for that to work?
So it's part of our programming for our career path and technical pathways through our CTE department. One of the things that each one of our schools has some type of specialty program or that they offer. But in addition to that, with those classes, they have requirements as part of those programs. So our CTE pathways are part of our requirements in our programming. So just like when our students do course selection and we say, this year you are required to take an English course, a math course, science, in accordance to the Arkansas graduation requirements, you're also required to enroll in your next level of your CTE pathway course. So they have one pathway that is a required pathway that they select in their freshman seminar course, and then they have the option of enrolling in additional CTE pathway courses to complete another pathway, or to just preview different CTE courses that they may be interested in. So that's one of the components of our guaranteed experiences as part of our profile of a graduate, that all of our students will have exposure to CTE pathways and experiences through those pathways.
And so for students that are on your campus and then the ones that are virtual, the virtual students, what is that going to look like for them and their opportunities?
There are CTE pathway opportunities through our virtual program as well. There are classes that are ADE approved through Ingenuity that are career and technical education courses that are sequenced as well.
Okay.
And they have the option of, in the hybrid coming, if there's a CTE pathway that they're interested in on campus, they can enroll in those as well. They also have the option of enrolling in courses at Metro.
Okay. Right. Any other questions?
Yes, I have.
Commissioner Duncan?
Yes, thank you. I have one more question. What I'd like to say first, though, is it's really great to hear about the guaranteed experience and the comprehensiveness that you all are thinking about for your graduate profile. In conjunction, clearly, I think you've demonstrated with your family and student needs, community needs today. So my question is about the current teacher workload, particularly in the virtual environment, and what are some ways that you're ensuring that teachers have the tangible, actual time to ensure that small group instruction, individual instruction, perhaps it's CTE coaching that students might need?
So, yes, so we carve out time for that, and we, I'm gonna use the word train. When we meet with our teachers in team meetings, we discuss and plan around how we're going to support our students in class, and a part of that is small group instruction. I've been in education, I think, about 25 years now, and I've had experience K through 12, and one thing that when I got into this position, one thing that I noticed is that we do a lot of small group instruction. In education, we tend to do a lot of small group instruction on the K through 6 level, but sometimes not as much on the high school level, but it is very effective. And so that is one thing that we have been really focused on, is incorporating that, what we call our tier 2 or small group instruction in the classroom, as well as during our 30-minute, we call it advisory, is what I referred to earlier as homeroom. During our advisory time, we have small group instruction during that time where teachers are able to pull students for tier 2 support and those things. And what was the other part of your question? Oh, okay.
So in terms of the virtual teachers, the office hours and small group instruction time is built into their master schedule. So they have a period of the day in their schedule where they don't actually have classes. During that period is where they can schedule students to come in and do small group times virtually or in person if they so choose. It's also when they have their office hours time. So this year we have the benefit of having teachers who only teach virtual classes so that we could then make, yes, we did in times past, which is a challenge, have teachers that were doing both. We also, because of the way we're utilizing our building, our Accelerated Learning Center staff are part of the virtual teaching too, so they have some of those classes. They already have office hours and coaching hours built in as part of the Accelerated Learning programs. Program, for lack of a better word. So we did build those into their schedules because it is a challenge of having a planning prep and then also trying to use that to meet with and conference with and assist students. So they have a separate planning time or work time for that, where they don't have classes that they're monitoring.
Okay, thank you. You addressed my question and my concern really with the workload. It's great that they have that time carved out and protected. And what I also know as a high school teacher who utilized small group and individual instruction is it does take time to effectively plan and prepare for that, especially when your goal is to be able to customize for where the kid is. So thank you for that.
Any other questions? Okay, Dr. Moore?
When I was looking at the waivers, I don't see a waiver request, at least in your presentation. It could be on the application, for teacher licensure.
Yes.
But you mentioned teacher licensure.
Yes, the waiver committee met, I think, Tuesday, and we were able to get some feedback and provide some other things. So yes, we are requesting a waiver on teacher licensure as well.
Okay, could you tell me more about that, why you feel that's needed, and what teachers will be teaching out of their licensure eligibility?
So the major reason for the license, the waiver is not so much for core content, but also it is so that we can offer, we have teachers who have experience teaching maybe in a charter situation or in a private situation, teaching certain classes that they're not necessarily licensed for, more specifically in our elective classes, not so much core content, but it would allow us to have those teachers be eligible to teach some of those courses that we offer without, because it's such a small environment, we have a lot of singletons. We may have one class of this, one class of that, and in high school, the licensure requirements are so specific. They're not K-5 like in elementary or middle school where you have licensure to teach multiple areas. Like me, I'm only secondary ELA. So if I needed that teacher to teach another class that they have experience teaching, or they may have industry experience in, that allows some flexibility for that. One of the challenges that we've come across multiple times, CTE is another area that I support with technical permits, is the amount, particularly when we're asking for them for licensed teachers, is the amount of time that has lapsed between their industry experience. If they're non-traditional, for example, I'm a non-traditional teacher, so I've been in education 25 years. My industry experience would have been almost 30 years ago, with that not being able to count towards my, or not having enough, because I quickly realized that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to go into education, so I didn't have enough industry experience, even though to count to be awarded a technical permit. So it would allow us some flexibility around those types of licensure constraints that we currently have in a traditional school.
So you said like probably not core content areas, but not sure, like it could be?
No, I don't anticipate us needing them for core content, with the exception of maybe, we know we have some teachers that, math, where we have a teacher who has, specifically it was geometry experience, but the teacher may only have an Algebra 1 endorsement, but they've taught geometry before, they've trained in geometry. We may have to use it in that case, but in most cases, 712 ELA allows you to teach most of the ELA electives, all of the ELA content areas, same thing for a 712 math license. Social studies is the same. So the majority of what we were looking at would be for elective courses. I don't ever say never, because as soon as I say that, then something comes up, but that is not what our goal was, and we don't anticipate having that. The current staff that we have teachers staffed in all of the core content areas that are able to teach the classes that we're offering.
Okay, because I do have concern as a 712 teacher myself, former math. I do very much value making sure that our core content area
Absolutely.
Teachers have that content knowledge. Because even, your middle school teachers who now can teach Algebra 1, no longer having to pursue that endorsement because they've really upped the rigor of that middle school test, doesn't mean that teacher would be able to teach Algebra 2, calculus, and may not have that content knowledge.
Absolutely.
So that's just very concerning. So, all right, thank you.
So, just for my clarification, your question was that they are requesting a waiver, but you didn't see the waiver listed, or?
Well, it's not in this presentation.
But it is in their application.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And so I think Dr. Smith is coming to provide some clarity on that.
Good morning, everybody. Darrell Smith, Office of School Choice and Parent Empowerment. There were some changes to the waiver form. So in the board book, there's the adjusted waiver form. Teacher licensure is one of those. I think class load, teacher definition, and I'm missing one. So it had to do with basically the kind of the calendar and just the way they can set the flexibility with classes. And so that's all been adjusted on the waiver form that's submitted in board book. Okay.
And then I will just say that I know that we have tried to make many adjustments and streamline the process for individuals to get technical permits. So I would encourage you just to kind of continue through that process because we realized that there was a need for us to make that a little bit more streamlined. So hopefully it is more effective for you at this point.
May I ask a follow-up question on that?
Sure.
Okay, so you said you're going to share some resources among the different schools that are on the campus. Will you be sharing content teachers as well, or just? No. Okay.
They have their own content.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Are there any other questions from any panel members?
No.
All right, if there are no other questions, then at this time I will entertain a motion on the application for the district conversion charter school application for Little Rock Hall High School.
I motion to approve Little Rock Hall High School's request to become a district conversion charter.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion by Dr. Bashir Duncan and a second by Ms. Newton to accept the application for the district conversion charter school application in Little Rock Hall High School. All those in favor say aye.
Can we discuss just real quick?
Oh,
before we
sorry.
vote?
Sorry. Is there any discussion on the motion? Thank you, Dr. Bacon. Thank you. Is there any discussion on the motion? Sorry.
Well, I just, before I can make a decision on the vote, I have two areas that I'm still concerned about and wondering about. One, I think Dr. Moore brought it up, we're not seeing virtual schools showing the type of growth and performance that we want to see. And so that, I know some parents want that option, but if we're not bringing the academic results, is that always the best plan? And the second thing is, the district as a whole, I think continuing to see declining enrollment at a time when I know there are continuing to be increasing options, both, the new high school that will open in 27, we've got charter schools, we've got ESA, we've got micro schools, we've got more people choosing homeschool. Just making sure that approving this, being a small setting where a lot of resources are gonna have to be invested for a small number of students, does that hopefully not taking away from other opportunities for students in other schools? That's just when I reflect on the whole big picture of it, that I'm stuck on that.
So currently, the motion is that we accept, the application. So I guess we would first need to pull that back down and then have further discussion in regards to the application. Okay.
Yes. So we'll
I'd be
open it
curious
up.
on anyone else's perspective on
Okay,
this.
so is that your move to pull it back down?
Yes, so
Okay.
I move to pull it back and open the discussion.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. So there is a motion that we pull back the motion to accept the application and have further discussion on the application for the charter. And so motion was made by Dr. Bashir Duncan, second by Dr. Moore. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Okay. So motion passes. So now we're back to discussion on the application.
So I would just be curious on other perspectives on, it really just feels like is this the most efficient use of resources, and is it smart to have I know that hall exists, but.
I'm sorry, I'm not able to hear the comment.
I'm sorry. I know that, I'm just really stuck on the making sure that we're helping the district use their resources to the best of their ability to serve all the students they serve, given, I mean, I just, you know, anecdotally, I know from other schools in the Little Rock School District that some people are being told that they're gonna have to make some cuts because of the big picture of enrollment, and so, you know, I don't know how I feel about the best way to help make sure that resources are being used that are gonna help the most kids.
So possibly may be helpful if the district could give us a little bit of feedback on beyond the next academic year, which is the intended year for implementation. What does that look like for subsequent years of this being a viable option, plan? You know, will this be in place 5 years from now based off of the trends that you're seeing with enrollment and with, you know, interest from families, from community? That might be helpful if we could kind of get a little bit more feedback in that perspective.
So I don't think that there is a person on the face of this earth who is more concerned and pay more attention about the use of our resources and our finances than me. Like, I spend a whole lot of time making sure that we are using the finite resources that we have to the best of our ability to meet all of our students and our community needs. As I stated earlier, the biggest pain point for operating Hall right now is the inflexibility that we have in terms of being able to staff the school. With this model that we're proposing with the conversion charter, it alleviates that staffing burden with the flexibility that we will have with the waivers. And so I feel confident that we will be able to operate the school and not take resources away from other schools within our district. So I feel very confident about that. Secondly, as I said, we have 3 very large high schools in our district. We have no other option for families who want a smaller, different type of environment in terms of high schools. This gives us that option. And then I think there was a concern around the virtual component, which has been in existence in Little Rock School District for multiple years now. So this is something that is already in existence. It's a very small number of kids, and we have a very structured criteria for kids and families to even get into our virtual program. And so you just can't get into our virtual program because you want virtual education. You have to show that you have the ability to work independently. I mean, there's other criteria, so we just don't let any student get with, you just can't get into our virtual program because you want to get into the virtual program. The program at Hall, which is why we're using the term blended, is because although we're using Edgenuity for a lot of the courses, we're not dependent upon a Edgenuity teacher per se we're not depending on the students to work through the Edgenuity courses by themselves. They will still have a teacher, an in-person teacher assigned to them every single day to help them with their courses, to provide that small group instruction to help meet the students' needs. And so I also feel confident about that blended option to be able to make sure that those students who can't participate and be successful in a virtual setting, they'll have additional supports to be able to be successful with this blended option.
So, as we're thinking about what you just shared with us, and I appreciate you being willing to walk us through those additional details. And so, one thing that you said that kind of stuck out to me is that when we look at Little Rock School District, there is not another option for students and families that is a smaller option. But, you know, in Pulaski County, comparative, if we look at if a student family wanted to say, well, I'll go over to PCSSD or I'll go over to North Little Rock School District, how does this option compare to your peers' options of what would keep a family in Little Rock and say, I want to go to Hall versus going to other districts? Is there a comparable piece? Is there not a comparable piece? What's going to make folks say that Little Rock's going to be my choice when you can drive a few miles here or there and end up in another district?
You want to answer it? Okay.
So when we look at the small high school options in Pulaski County in terms of public schools, there isn't one. In Pulaski County, they have large high school options like Robinson, Mills, Maumelle, North Little Rock, has one high school, which is a large high school. Jacksonville has one high school, which is a relatively large high school. So the other high schools in the public high schools in the county are in comparable size to our other 3 large high schools. So because Hall has an application process, it is not an attendance zone school. Students have the option of school choicing into Hall from various places in the county. There really isn't another public school in the county that is this size that's offering this, not just in Little Rock, but in Pulaski County as a whole.
Can I ask what the selection process and admission process will look like now that Hall would be a conversion charter as opposed to being in just sort of the traditional umbrella?
So Hall currently has an application process, and so there's one component that Dr. Wright spoke to about the virtual. There is a separate criteria for virtual. The additional criteria would be the application, and hopefully we get to the point where we have students that we put in a lottery based on their application. So we wouldn't change a whole lot of our current process because it was, I know at the time that you were there, was an attendance zone school. It is no longer an attendance zone. It is an application only based school.
And so all students who apply would have the opportunity to be admitted to Hall. They just might not do the virtual option if that isn't a good fit.
There's a separate application process for the virtual option that has additional criteria that Dr. Wright alluded to in his comments.
Okay. And I mean, I don't want to keep belaboring points, but I think you brought it up, and from the long-term perspective, we're talking about this being the only small school option in Little Rock School District for high school, but I know you are very alert to the need for efficiency. You're looking at everything, and you're going to open another big high school, which is going to have a lot of students come in. Where are they coming from? When you just think of the big picture, I see this in a lot of the charter schools that have come before us. You see it in traditional districts across the state, and some of the work I've done. Almost everybody sees decreasing enrollments, and you're opening another really big school, which means students are going to be, coming from somewhere. And then if we open another really small school, in addition to that, I just want to make sure that you've got enough students to give you what you need to make it so you're not having to rob Peter to pay Paul to keep it open 5 years from now.
Yeah. I know this conversation isn't about our new high school that's opening up in the fall of '27, but there is we don't have a high school in West Little Rock. And so when we look at where our students go when they leave Pinnacle View, they go to a number of privates, they go to Robinson, they go to a number of places. And so, a big strategy around that is really recruiting our families to not leave and to come back. And so we're the goal is not to recycle students among our 3 high schools to open up the new high school, because if that happens, that will defeat the purpose of having a new high school. But again, the students who are already selecting Hall, because again, Hall is a selection school, and the same number of students that we're targeting for this particular school is really the same number of students who have been selected at this whole time.
May I ask a question along that same route? Okay.
So what I hear you saying is that it will be your intent to market Hall, not just Little Rock School District, but Pulaski County, to encourage students to come, or is it just Little Rock School District students that you will be encouraging to attend?
I didn't say anything about recruiting outside of our district for Hall. I was speaking of the new high school that's opened up in
Oh, okay,
27.
all right,
Yeah.
thanks.
I do just want to add that some families are choosing other options outside of public school because they want a small option. And we want to provide that through our district so that they don't have to leave, so that they do remain in the Little Rock School District. So
Sure, which is why I appreciate you bringing forth the point, and that's why I wanted to kind of think and talk through that, is, because, with Pulaski County is structured, students can kind of go wherever, but if this is the only option that looks like that, then that makes it be a bit different.
So just along those same lines, and talking about, what we hear on the news and what we see, there was a big talk of Hall potentially closing because of the decreased enrollment. And I understand that what you're doing is for efficiency, to try to be able to keep it open because you're gonna be saving money by doing the different things you've mentioned. At what point would it be, okay, this can't carry on? Like what is, I know you have projected enrollment, is there some success measure, like, to keep the doors open, we have to have this many students, otherwise we've got to just move forward and shut the school down?
So I think running the school as a traditional school, yes, there was a number that we were trying to get to that we have not been able to get to since I have been here. But again, the beauty of the conversion charter is the flexibility that it allows us with staffing, which is the biggest driver of the operations, the operational cost of the school. And so if we have the flexibility with staffing, we can run a school with 200 kids with the flexibility that we're asking for with staffing and stay within our operational means.
So 200?
Yes.
200 is your number you have to have. So just to extend on that, if you don't get 200, is that like ball game, or can you float it at less than 200 just because you've been declining every year?
I don't think that 200 is like the magic number, because if it's fewer than 200, then it means we don't have to staff it as if it was 200. And with the flexibility in which we can do the courses, we can still offer this flexible option for families who want a smaller environment. I mean, that's the whole reason why we didn't start out with the conversion charter as an option, but the more we looked at the constraints that we will be under trying to do something innovative and flexible, this was the only route that would offer us the ability to do so. I would say, if anything, if we weren't able to get approved for this charter, then that would almost be like a nail in the coffin in terms of us being able to keep Hall open, because we can't afford to run it as a traditional high school.
Okay, and I just asked because many of our charters, that's when they're going to be a new, you're different being conversion charter as existing school, but often we're looking at those financials, and our banker's not here today that's on the panel, or you would be having those questions.
Yeah.
Not my lane at all, but looking at, what is the minimum number of students that we would have to pay the bills, and this is how many teachers we need and staff for that, and that scale up if enrollment ended up being this. So we're used to seeing that, but I know it's a little bit different because your situation being conversion of a school that's already in existence. So.
Yeah. And then we're also, as I stated before, we're taking programs that were existing in other campuses and actually putting them under one roof on the Halls campus as well. So all of that is contributing to the more efficiency to be able to run the programs,
right,
to run the school.
And I know we're asking a lot of tough questions, so I do want to applaud your efforts to try to keep this for the community. I know that a few years ago, when there was a big event, community event, because I was doing a lot of work in STEM at the time, and they had a big event, and all the community came out, and there were folks that they had graduated Hall High like decades ago. A lot of older folks coming back, and we're so excited for Hall to be revived. So I know there's a lot of history there and rich community pride. So I know this isn't easy work, and I applaud your efforts trying to make this work for the community.
So, thank you to the panel for opening it back up, and thank you most of all for continuing to respond to our questions. So we've dug into a little bit of the financial piece and some goals that you have around that. This conversation has just sparked my thinking. How might you know that academically, and then also that the perception from teachers and students and families, what might be some data or goals that are just non-negotiables that okay, this is working, this was the right choice, we need to continue down this path?
So in terms of feedback from the community, having community meetings and meeting with those parents in our surveys, getting that survey data back. As a matter of, like I said, the feedback is why we're here today, because there was when that was on the table to close Hall, there was a very large push from the community to keep the institution open. So, but continuing that and making sure that we act on that feedback that we get. In terms of academics, we want to make sure that our growth scores are still up and if not higher than where they are right now. We service about 30% of our students have special needs, and so that provides a definitely something that we have to work with, and that we are making sure that we provide those services for those students to be like I said, in the 93rd percentile in terms of ELA growth. Given those factors, I think is a very good thing. And so in terms of academic success, we want to make sure that our growth scores are still where they need to be, that students are still graduating and moving on to the next phase, whether that be a career or whether that be college or enlistment, whatever the case may be, and just focusing on those and making sure that we're meeting those goals and we're providing the supports that students need in order to be successful.
I just wanted to add a few things in terms of success metrics. One of them definitely would be our graduation rate. I think this year Hall's graduation rate was 91%. Part of what contributed to that is that we actually did merge two schools. We closed our West Little Rock High School and merged it with Hall. And the graduation rate we received this year is actually from West Hall High School's graduation rate was 96%. And so we would want to maintain that above 95% graduation rate. And looking at our merit and distinction, another success metric would be to increase our percentage of H2 completers. Also, with our concurrent credit programs and initiatives that we're phasing in, we should see dramatic increases in our students that are successfully completing concurrent credit courses, also continuing to work to increase our number of students that are completing and receiving qualifying scores on our AP exams. Another area that we're working on that would be a success metric is continuing our work in all of our campuses, specifically Hall with our seal of biliteracy, and then as he said, our growth in our lowest quartile and our growth continuing to see consistent and constant gains there. We know achievement is a longer haul, but those small increments of growth that we make in our lowest quartile and growth for all will lead to achievement gains over time. So those would be just a few of the success metrics we would look at to see, to say, yes, the programming that we have in place is working, is successful for the students and families we serve.
Thank you so much. That's really helpful. No further questions.
Any other questions from any panel members? Again, thank you for the additional detail and additional questions that were asked. So again, if there are no other questions from any panel members, either in person or online, I will again accept a motion on the district conversion charter school application of Little Rock Hall High School.
So I again motion to approve Little Rock Hall High School's request to become a district conversion charter.
I second.
Okay. Have a motion by Dr. Bashir Duncan and a second by Dr. Moore to accept the application for the district conversion charter, Little Rock High School. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay. Seeing none. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Ms. Newton, your vote? Did she vote?
I haven't heard her yet.
Can't hear her. Ms. Newton, did you vote?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't have it, could you tell me what the situation, the PAMP, or what are we, the last, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, could you repeat your question?
The status, could you tell me status where we are right now, because I couldn't care of it, I was understand the situation with the son and the step. Did you step over?
Are you wanting me to let you know where the vote count is right now?
That's what I'm need to understand.
Okay, so currently we have 2, 4, and 1 against.
My standard is standards, standard, I'm sorry, I'm seeing figure the statement for the, in forward of the conference to go, I don't know, I'm sorry. I'm forward in, with the forward infant, I'm in forward for the conversion of the former, I'm sorry, I've taken some medication, I'm sorry.
Okay. Ms. Newton, are you okay?
I am.
Okay.
Ms. Newton, do you have someone there with you right now?
Yeah, I'm in my office, just a moment.
Okay. Do we want to take a small break and?
Perfect. I'm not, I don't have anyone that right now for my, going for purposes, thank you.
Yeah, so let's take a small break and we will come back to finish the vote. Okay.
Can someone call her cell phone? Can one of y'all call her cell phone or something? That is not like Ms. Newton.
No.
Absolutely.
back hot. Okay, we're back, and thank you everyone for being patient with us and allowing us to take time to take care of our panel member, and our thoughts and prayers are with her right now, and hopefully everything works out well as she's getting checked out. So in light of all that is going on, and we're already, you know, pretty tight on where the vote is, we are going to ask to defer this until January. That will give Ms. Newton an opportunity to have her input at that time and then be able to do the final vote then. Okay. Is there anything else that I need to? Okay. Okay. So our next meeting, we'll have you guys to come back. It should not be as long because we've already had you guys do your presentation and answer a lot of questions, and so we should be able to take care of it at that time.
I have one question about that process.
Okay.
Yes. So, our members who were not able to be here today, are they able to review the information and vote at that time? Or would it only be those of us that were in attendance today?
And as you're coming up, Dr. Smith, my addition to that would be to help the applicant to not have to go back through the entire process. Would it be acceptable for members that are not here that would like to have an opportunity to have a say in the process to like go back and rewatch the recording and get the information and then get caught to speed, if we could avoid them having to go through the whole
Absolutely, yeah.
process again?
Daryl Smith, Office of School Choice. That would be my suggestion. And then obviously, if they would like to recuse themselves from the vote because they didn't have a chance to review all the details of the meeting, they certainly can at that time.
Could they ask
so-
questions at that time?
What's that?
Could they ask questions at that time?
Well, technically, yes, because we're going to have to put the motion back on the floor for you all to have a motion and a decision. So certainly there would be opportunities for any new members that were not here to ask some specific questions that maybe came from the discussion that they reviewed.
But I would think that we would also encourage those members, and say we're saying those, about Mr. Baldwin, keep saying those.
And Andy, Dr. Stewart?
Oh, yes, Edie. Sweet Edie. So if we could have them to like watch in advance, and then any questions that they have, could they get those to the?
Absolutely. We can
Okay.
certainly, as far as a follow-up to this meeting for the CAP members, we will certainly request that once we have the video available, we'll send it out, make sure, and then especially for those who aren't here, and with those requests, that please review it. If you have any specific questions prior to the meeting, we'll give them a date, maybe a week or so, but prior to that, to submit them to us. We will then forward them to the applicant, so they'll be prepared in case there are any questions, which will speed up the process when we're here because the questions will have already been asked. And that way, maybe they can even respond prior to the meeting, and that way, and maybe address some of those questions outside of this particular meeting. Okay.
And you'll work with them on that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Thanks. Thank you. So next on our agenda, we have a review of the landscape of analysis for open enrollment charters that received an F letter grade, and Dr. Smith is already here.
Absolutely.
so
Well, I made
jump
it
right
up
on
here, so
in.
we'll just keep going. Wow, what a meeting, right?
Yep.
As you know, back in 24-25, the new accountability systems went into place that graded both, not only the schools, but for the first time, districts as well. Secretary Leva had requested that all F-rated districts make a presentation before either the board or the charter authorizing panel, and so today is the first step in that process. There were 3 single campus districts and 1 multi-campus network had a F rating. In total, these districts represent 10 campuses where student performance was not where it was and received an F rating during this last accountability cycle. Our focus today is on those 4 F-rated campuses and districts. The charter office and ADE obviously take very seriously the responsibility to ensure that no school or district remains in a failing performance or weak learning outcomes. Children only get 1 chance at a grade level, and they deserve a high-quality school where they can receive an excellent education now and not necessarily years from now. So over the past month, the charter office has notified each of these districts that will present their reports today, met with them individually, virtually or in person, and clearly explained the purpose of today's presentations and the rationale for a potential probation recommendation. In those meetings, we reviewed their data that led to their F ratings. We began identifying their root causes and discussed the actions already taken during the first semester to change the trajectory of student learning. We also asked that each district prepare a written report, which we will go through here in just a second, to include a root cause analysis and initial improvement plan for the 25-26 school year that's aligned to performance expectations. These districts do understand why we're here today, and while they are not satisfied with their current results, they have accepted responsibility for their performance and the consequences that follow. They've already begun making adjustments to their instructional programs, staffing, and supports in their effort to improve outcomes for students. And I want to acknowledge that effort and their willingness to engage in an honest reflection. However, at the same time, as the authorizer, our duty is not just to reward hard work, but also to ensure measurable, sustained improvement in student achievement. Under Section 8.11 of the Arkansas Charter Rules, schools are expected to make regular and significant progress towards their academic achievement targets. Section 8.3 further requires charter schools to demonstrate ongoing progress in reading and math and to work toward exceeding the performance of similarly situated schools in their geographic area and across the state. The results before you today show that, to this point, these districts have not met those expectations. And that is why we'll be recommending probation, not as a punishment, but as a structured, time-bound intervention focused on student learning. Also want to acknowledge that whenever there's accountability tightens, there are those who would prefer to focus on process disputes and technicalities in ways that can slow down the work of school improvement. We welcome thoughtful discussions and questions about our methods and our data, but we cannot and will not allow debates over technical details to distract from our central mission. Nothing will deter us from the responsibility to ensure that every child currently enrolled in an Arkansas charter school has access to high-quality education. Accordingly, today I will ask the panel to accept each district's report and to require these charter districts and networks to return for a probationary hearing in January of 2026. We are bringing these reports to you today for review in advance of next month's hearing, both to give the panel adequate time to consider the information and to accommodate schools as they complete end-of-semester responsibilities. That probationary hearing will focus on a more detailed presentation of their root cause analysis and their specific plans to improve student outcomes in the 25-26 school year, as well as their commitment to bring you a comprehensive school improvement plan for the 26-27 school year, which they will present to you by April of 2026 for your review and approval. Building on that commitment, the Charter Office will also recommend that each district be placed on an 18-month probationary period, during which they will have to demonstrate with clear quantitative evidence that the changes they are making are resulting in sustained improvement in student achievement and accountability outcomes. We approach this work with both urgency and hope. Urgency because Arkansas students cannot wait, and hope because we believe these schools can improve and will, and they will rise to the challenge with support, clear expectations, and firm accountability. Charter Office stands ready to work alongside these districts, but we will also be unwavering in our expectation that every school in Arkansas delivers on the promise of a high-quality education for every student it serves. With that said, I'd like to present our first report. Future Schools of Fort Smith. Our future school of Fort Smith is an open enrollment charter high school, grades 9 through 12, Arkansas's first big picture learning affiliate. Their root cause analysis cites that they cites turnover, particularly in math, leading to heavy reliance on Edgenuity in the spring of 2025, inconsistent standards, alignment, and HQIM implementation, and the absence of a consistent data cycle and MTDSSS structure to drive account interventions with fidelity. Their analysis further identifies fragile graduation in CCR systems in a highly mobile setting, inconsistent intake and transcript coding, limited pathway staffing, learning conditions affected by attendance behavior, and uneven classroom attendance. They have begun already with their improvement plans, strengthening their Tier 1 instruction with HQIM pacing, collaborative planning, and a bi-weekly formative checks, establishing weekly data meetings and a rocket hour intervention hour, tightening graduation CCR systems through transcript audits, trackers, verified credit recovery, and FAFSA application supports, and strengthening talent systems through structured coaching observation cycles from external partners and additional resources. So at this time, the Charter Office would like to, like this panel, and would like to recommend that you accept the report that is being presented, both from the accountability report, which is the data that's provided by the department, as well as the schools, root analysis of the causes of where they're at and why they're where they're at, along with what they have already begun to do. So the first step is to accept the report. The second is that we'd also then like a recommendation and a vote to bring this school back and their administration for a probationary hearing in our next time in January.
Can those be in one, or do they need to be two separate votes?
It probably would be best if it's separate.
Okay. Okay, so we've heard the report from Dr. Smith in regards to their, and do you have any questions that need to be further explored at this time?
Not on the first part, but I have just questions about the procedures for the second part.
Okay, all right. So if there are no questions about the report, then I will accept a motion that we accept the report as submitted by Dr. Smith.
I move to accept the report for Friendship Aspire as reported by Dr. Smith.
Future schools. This was future schools.
Sorry, I flipped
That's
the
right.
wrong one, 'cause I'd
I think I'm the one that did them out of order, so
Okay.
that's probably my
So
fault.
we'll start over again.
I think I did them out of order.
I will accept a motion to accept Future Schools report as submitted by Dr. Smith.
I'm scared to even try that. Yes.
Go ahead, give it a try.
Yes. I move to accept the report on Future School of Fort Smith as given by Dr. Smith.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion by Dr. Moore, a second by Dr. Bacon, that we accept the report submitted by Dr. Smith on behalf of Future School of Fort Smith.
Yes.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Yep.
Okay. And then next, we have a request from the Charter Office that we bring back in for discussion in person, Future School to discuss their,
For a probationary hearing,
For
basically, to
probationary
place them on
hearing.
probation for an 18-month period, of which they would then need to show evidence of strong student outcomes.
so we have, I will accept the motion that we invite Future School to come back. Oh, yeah.
Anyone else questions first?
Okay, sure. Well, I'll pull that back, and Dr. Bacon, you have further questions?
This would be my first time being involved in anything of this nature with the open enrollment charter schools, and so I was just curious, like process-wise. So, how does that work? What is due process? What is the law for making sure that, if we're going to hold a probationary hearing? I mean, what are the due process steps for that?
Yeah, well, the probation, it's very basically similar to what we're doing right now. Their staff, their superintendent, executive director, and any building administrators they feel would be applicable to the conversation would come. And at this point, what we're doing is saying that the F is already there. You have already established that you're an underperforming district at this point. In this case, it's a one school district, but we've already made that establishment. So at this point, what we need to do is then hold them accountable to that grade. And so instead of just saying, let's just go get better, the idea is there's a little bit of accountability of saying, okay, for the next X number of times, whatever that's a month, 5 months, 8 months, we're obviously recommending a year, 2 test cycles, right? This next one, 26, and then a 27 test cycle, to show that you not only have you showing improvement, that you can sustain improvement. And doesn't mean we're doing anything more than just basically saying we're gonna put you on probation, we're kind of put you on the watch list. That's basically what we're doing. And if you continue to perform like we anticipate you performing, then you're gonna be great and we'll take you off the probation and then life goes on. However, if you choose, and if we're not choosing, but if for some reason that your performance is not there and we're not seeing any type of significant improvement in that, then we may need to have a different discussion at this time with this panel and with the school. So it really is more of just we're at a crossroads school. We need to figure out what's going on and let's start fixing it, or there may be additional consequences and additional conversations that we need to make.
And so if this vote happens today, you notify the individual school that they'll have a hearing in January. We have this information. Will they, and you said they'll come, school board president, I guess superintendent, whoever is necessary, they'll have an opportunity to present
Correct.
additional
Yeah,
information?
it basically is just like every other hearing process that we go through. We will, they already know that that there's gonna be a probation. That's part of that original discussions that we've had with them over this last week, or last month, actually.
So they're aware that probation.
They're aware
status
that we've
is
already did that.
on.
At one point, they thought maybe we would do that today, but because of the calendar and their end of semester activities, it was just really difficult to get them here. So what we agreed to upon every 4 school, what we agreed to was that we would present your data, we would present your report that they would essentially have provided to you in a presentation had they been here, so you can review it. And then what we'll do then is we'll have that kind of that question and answer back and forth in January, similar to maybe what we saw at the state board last week, where the districts had to come before the state board and basically explain, number one, how we got where we're at and what we're doing to get out. And that's basically what we're doing. And so what we do from a charter standpoint is that we also have the ability to say, okay, we also are gonna put you on probation, you know, as a sign that this is serious, that this is urgent, and that we are, you know, that we're for you, we're gonna help you, we're not trying to close you down, we're not trying to shut the doors or move anybody out. But we are serious about improving education and improving the outcomes of the student. So this is just one of those little checks to say, you know, that gives us the ability to really kind of oversee that a little bit and hold them accountable to performance and to providing changes that will make a difference. And so well, we can talk more about some of that next month, you know, as far as what is it that we're looking for, what will we be looking for, you know, from if you know, you so choose to put them on probation. Right. But basically what we'll be looking for is, number one, we want to tell you, here's our expectation. We expect better scores. We expect students to grow and students to learn. We're also expecting you to check in with us and show us that whatever you're doing is making progress. So we don't want to find out a year and a half from now that, well, we didn't make it. We want to know with frequent quarterly check-ins, how are we doing? Are we progressing? How do we know we're progressing? Do we know we're getting better? So this is just a way for us to just kind of, again, maybe light a little fire under some of our school districts to say it's time that we really focus in on the right things. We can provide the right additional supports for them, make sure that they have whatever they need once we've identified some of the root causes that are creating maybe a failing system right now. And then what we'll do is, because we want to do that, we're going to stand aside. We've already started talking with them about what can we help you provide you. You know, what is it? Literacy coaches? Is it external support? Is it back-end support? Is it teacher coaching? What is it that's going to create what's creating the system that you're in? So the goal now is for them, we identify it, figure out what the supports are, put a plan in motion, and then monitor that plan over the next year to see if it's making a difference or not.
Okay. You'll have to forgive me because I have a number of thoughts and questions, because having been on that side of that desk as a charter school CEO, my pulse is really high right now thinking about the whole process, because some of this is new to me. So we would have the hearing, we already have the reports, we would review what you all have presented, what they've presented in a written report. They would do a presentation, I assume, answer questions.
Correct.
What gets you off probation? Is it simply
Well, I think that's what we will
simply
determine.
not having an F letter grade next time? What would?
Well, I think that's I think we will determine that, and I think we'll bring that.
We being us.
I think combination of everybody. I think it's the school, it's us, and it's you. And then so I think part of that performance plan that they'll present to us in April, that comprehensive, is also how do we get out of this, right? So what are we going to need to see? You know, when we say improved outcomes, what does that mean? Is that 1 point?
Right.
Is
What
that
is
10
the
points? Is that 100 points? Is
status
that a
to
letter
get out?
grade? You know, I mean, I would certainly think it's at least a letter grade, right? I mean, we can't continue to have Fs. You know, so we should certainly see from going from an F to a D and hopefully either a high D or a C in the year after that. That would be, you know, we would say that's probably at a minimum the expected trajectory. You know, if we don't quite get there, but we're almost there, we're certainly not going to punish somebody for not quite making make a goal. That's not our goal. Our goal is to see improvement. You know, and obviously improvement can be defined a lot of different ways, and so I think every school is going to be a little different depending on where they're at. Right. So. Yeah.
These are just John Bacon, former CEO of a charter school. Fairness is a big thing to me. So because these are charter schools, the rules are, the actions are different, because the charter panel can put these schools on probation for having an F, but the 6 districts that had Fs got yelled at, but no action was taken.
Well, I would say no action was taken. I mean, they had to submit assurances that they would do
Have they
certain
been put on
things.
probation?
Yeah. You can't really put a local school district on probation. I mean, they don't, the
Are there actions
state
that the
board.
state can take
Well,
for a
they
school
are
district
under,
for
they are under
academics?
the same kind of watch that every school is gonna be under. So they're gonna go through, and obviously if they continue to have poor performance, the state board will
But
take
other than
action.
being labeled an F, there's no other, like this is, you're an F and you're now on probation. Traditional district is an F.
Well, but,
other than
and,
conversations. there's
right,
no-
but my
and this
argument to
is-
that would be that these guys are on a contract. You know that. You signed a contract, or they signed a contract to say, we are going to educate these children, right? In maybe a different way, same way, it doesn't really matter whatever model they use, but they made a signed a contract to say, we're gonna educate these children. The question at this point is, you didn't fulfill the point of your contract.
And I'm not arguing that we should hold charter schools accountable. I guess my argument is, why are we not setting up more for the other schools that are also struggling? In
Well,
some
I don't have
cases-
authority
in some
to
cases
work with
for
the
an
local
extent-
school
maybe
districts,
I'm speaking
but.
to the public record, extended records of F letter grades, academic underperformance. And so
But-
that leads me to my second point, which is not only is this a way that we look at the charter schools separately, and actually they have more accountability because now they're gonna be perhaps on probation, a traditional district is not. But they've also have other consequences in law, and again, you don't make the law, I don't make the law, but, I mean, they've lost facilities funding because they had an F letter grade. Some of them lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in facilities funding. You just told us that DESE is gonna provide support, wraparound, I think you said perhaps literacy coach, math coach, all that.
Yeah, whatever we need. Yeah.
And so, you know, I know the answer to my own question. Did the traditional districts lose any money over the fact that they have an F letter grade?
Probably not. I don't think there's any specific
And
code there, so I
just
can't,
wanna
I
make
can't speak to the
sure,
local.
As I sit on this panel and know that we will hold schools accountable for academic growth and academic success, and I have no problem with that, and I don't think any of these charter schools that are gonna come before us have a problem standing up and saying, you know, they're accountable for results. But I do think it's important that we consider some of those aspects of how the F letter grade was enough that it caused serious consequences, financial consequences for charter schools. I wanna make sure that there is support, there is something that, you know, because you're already, I'm just telling you, as a person who ran charter schools, their facility expenses didn't decrease when they got the F and they lost facilities funding. So they're still using their regular other funds to pay for that, which means that they had to cut something that they had been doing in their either state aid or through whatever categorical. So, I mean, they're gonna be cutting instructional support, wraparound services, something curricular. I mean, the very things that would get them out of being an F are the things that they're going to be having to cut because of the facility funding loss that they face, that traditional school districts don't face. And so I'm real uncomfortable with the whole process, but I've spoken to enough people that I think everybody knows where I stand on it. I just wanna make sure that they have due process, they have a fair opportunity to make their case, and that someone, for the record, understands that charter schools are being held to a much higher standard, they're having different consequences that traditional districts aren't. And I'm not saying we should remove the consequences from charters, but perhaps somebody needs to have a conversation about doing more to raise the bar for all students across the state.
Well, and I appreciate that comment.
And that's not
so-
your purview,
as I said,
because
I appreciate that
That doesn't
comment.
really fall under your
and-
unit, but I just.
But I certainly, I think, obviously, you know, it is something to consider through legislative, you know, concern, maybe, you know, in 27, when the next legislative session comes up, that's certainly, you know, like, I wouldn't say that the local public sector has no consequences, all right? I mean, they are under a high watch list, so they have to
But
perform.
isn't every charter school under a high watch list?
Well,
I mean,
yeah, I'm not gonna.
One
but-
F letter grade 1 year for, let's take Future School. I think I looked at their record, a school that has been in the past, maybe B, C, D, look like C, C, D perhaps on a downward trajectory. I don't think anyone would argue that. Pops an F the first time, and they have a lot of serious consequences, financial consequences.
Yeah, but the
probationary
probation doesn't change
consequences.
that consequence. That consequence came when they got the F,
But I'm saying-
and that's a legislative issue that we'll have
But
to
then
deal
you've
with
got
later
school
down the road.
districts and others that have been FFFFF.
Yeah,
They're not losing any money, and they aren't having the tag of probationary, because these very charter schools are gonna be competing for students against some of those districts who are gonna be, well, you're on probation. They may not be around because they're on probation. I mean, It's just equity. It's an equity argument to me, and I can make it all day long.
And I appreciate.
Nobody
well,
wants to be here all day.
and I do. I appreciate that. But and again, something to consider in legislative session. Again, my job at this point is to follow the law. The law says that that they have to do a certain. They're under contract to provide certain performance. Again, we could
The law
argue that
doesn't say
everybody
they have
is.
to be placed on probation because they got one F.
Doesn't.
Right.
But I mean, but at some point, there's sort of what is the consequence, right? Just that you got an F and now go do better.
Sure.
Right, so I think at some point, what we're trying to say is that we need to make a statement that say we understand there's urgency, maybe that hasn't been in this panel, in our world previous to that. It's the first time that districts as a whole, obviously, were held accountable for their overall their letter grades. So this is a first year for everything, right? So local school districts are being held accountable for their letter grades, as well as to the individual schools within there. So in some sense, we are treating everybody fairly. You can, if you want to say, well, it's a name or not a name, I don't know. I mean, that's something you think, but you do have to decide at some point, we've got to put some kind of,
Certainly.
importance to that.
I'll let you move on because
Okay.
I could,
I know, we can have that discussion,
I would say
and
it's
I
not-
welcome it, and
It's
it's
a
fine.
name of probation, but it's also a loss of funding, which is a big problem to me. If you're
But the
gonna
loss of
support
funding has
those
already
systems.
come, is I guess is what I'm saying. It'd be different if we were
Right.
saying that the
Right.
decision is going to then create a loss of funding. The loss of funding has already occurred. And so the probation is just more of a recognition, number one, that we need you to do better. And so, just like we need everybody better, right? I mean, every school that gets an F probably should be on probation at some point, because, we need you to get better. And not just, we hope you get better, like we're going to now, really encourage you and spend time with you and make sure that you have the capacity to do the things that you have told us that you were gonna do, right? And so I think that's where we're at right now, is the idea of just holding the school and saying and again, we are not here saying that any school is trying to get an F or they're underperforming. We understand that there's hardworking people in every one of these schools, and they are trying, every one of them are doing their very best to teach students. What we do recognize, there's something in their system that's not working, right? And that because of that something, it's creating low outcomes. So what we're stepping in here to do at this point is say, it is time to stop and take a look at your system and figure out what it is that's creating low performance. Hopefully, we can get in there and we can help you fix it and we can find the right support so that we can see increase. If it's a systemic issue that's bigger than that, we may not be able to. But this is the first flag, right? And unfortunately, legislatively, we talked at some of our work sessions, like there's only so many actions that you have have the ability to make. Probation's that one. There's not one that says warning, right? So it's either nothing or it's probation, right? Because everything else is more about applications and modifications and some of those kind of things, and that's not where we're at. We're not trying to modify anything. We're not trying to transfer anything. We're just saying we need to make a statement here, and so that's and what the only option we have is one of those 9. The only one that says we need you to fix the problem is probation, which is why we're recommending what we'll be recommending officially in our January meeting that these schools be put on probation.
And all we would be voting on today, you're asking us, is just to vote to schedule a probation hearing for January.
That's all we're doing right now. Yeah, we're not putting them on probation in this thing. We're just asking for that you would schedule a hearing. We notify them officially that you're going to come back for a probationary hearing, because they fully expect, based on our previous conversations, that there will be some type of probation probably placed upon them, right? And that we've had that discussion with them. We've sat in the room with them and explained to them some of the consequences of where they're at, right? And so that won't come as a surprise to them. So all we're doing is saying we just want to put it on the record so that we can now invite them and make it an official statement.
Okay. Any other questions? So as a part of the process, we might be able to ask them in January their feedback on the process so far, and what crucial needs, what's supporting them so far, and what crucial needs still exist for them.
I think that would be a fair question. So, I mean, certainly at this point, we've just kind of dug at a real surface level, right? We've looked at it. We know what the letter grade was. We've taken some cursory looked at the data that you've seen there, and start kind of drawing some conclusions. We certainly ask them, like, what are the reasons? You know, we asked them to present that report, say, what do you see as the reasons for where you're at? And what have you already done? Because obviously they knew their letter grade, you know, in the summer, and so they could have already implemented some things to create, you know, move that needle for the 26 testing period. And so the question is, this is what we're doing. So I think it would be a very fair question to say, how's that going? Right? You had 6 months now of this improvement plan that you placed together. How's it going? You know, what other additional supports may need? Because those are the conversations we'll have after January. We talked about that comprehensive kind of school improvement report. Part of that has to go on their AR app, but secondly, it's important that they go through that process, whether it's a complete, you know, needs assessment or whatever they need to do, to start identifying exactly what is it that needs to happen in order to move the needle, right? Some things you've already done, we can't change all of that, but looking forward, what are some things that you feel are gonna really take you to that next level? And then they will present that to you. So they're gonna come before you twice. One in January, just to kind of more explain why they think they are where they are and what they're already doing, and maybe, hopefully, we'll have some data that says we're confident that we're moving in the right direction, and here's why we think that. And that's the way we're going to encourage them as far as their presentation, and spend less time on the why. Certainly the why is important, but a whole lot more on the where. Right? And so where are we going? How are we going to get there? And then bring that to you. Then you can start having that dialogue. At that point, we'll see where the vote goes. And regardless where the vote goes, we're going to still recommend they come a comprehensive report come back in April, or in April, because that does need to happen, because there still has to be some accountability before this board for their actions and for their improvement. So basically, yes, you can ask what you need to ask related to that report and any other report going forward. Just like, as you review your school improvement plan, where do you see the gaps? Do you have the necessary support that you need? What are those supports that you need? Those are the conversations we will also be having with them, and putting them in touch maybe with some external partners to help them address where some of those needs are. So first thing, it's like, we got to identify where's the system broke, and then at that point, how do we inject the right things into the system so that we get better outcomes? So that's where we're headed with this thing.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the additional details.
Sure.
Yeah. So you've heard the explanation of the process and the intent. So at this time, I will accept a motion to plan to invite future School of Fort Smith back in January for the probationary hearing.
Yes. Okay. That is correct.
All right.
I move to invite future School of Fort Smith to come in January for a hearing to discuss the report, and it's a probationary hearing.
And I second that.
Okay. So I have a motion to invite future School of Fort Smith back in January for a review of the report and to have a probationary hearing. That motion was made by Dr. Moore and seconded by Dr. Bashir Duncan. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed? I said aye as well. Okay. All right. So motion carries. Okay. So next on the agenda.
We've got three more schools, so we'll look at
Garfield.
Garfield. Let's do Garfield. You tell me where we're going. Well, that's where we're going. How about that? All right.
Garfield.
We'll do Garfield real quick. Let's see if we can get this done. Here we go. So Garfield Scholars Academy opened in 2024. It's a K-5 charter school currently serving 94 students. Their root cause analysis identified systemic implementation gaps. First root cause is inconsistent core instruction and inconsistent curriculum execution. High quality instructional materials were used inconsistently across classrooms. Pacing and rigor varied, and formative assessment practices were uneven. As a result, teachers were not consistently using evidence of learning to adjust instruction and provide timely, targeted support. Secondly, it was an underdeveloped school-wide data and progress monitoring system. While the school did have some data practices, the overall system did not reliably translate assessment information into documented actions. Thirdly, there was a talent system fragility. Inconsistent instructional support. The accountability profile reports that a low teacher certification rate. While that doesn't automatically determine outcomes, they certainly increases the importance of coaching, curriculum, and structured collaborative. They had 4 priorities that they wanted to focus on in the 25-26 school year. Number 1, strengthening the core instruction through a vetted standards-aligned curriculum in math and ELA. Secondly, building a coherent data and monitoring system, including a school-wide data school-wide data calendar, weekly data meetings using a standard protocol and leadership and board dashboards. Thirdly, aligning talent and support to identified need through strategic educator assignments, quarterly observations and feedback cycles. And lastly, strengthening their MTSS, and school-wide behavior systems, including Tier 1 consistency and a consistent menu of Tier 2 support, standardized documentation, and strengthened classroom management. With this report, I would recommend that the panel accept this report, as well as invite them back for a probationary hearing in January of 2026.
Okay, so you've heard the report submitted by Dr. Smith on behalf of Garfield Scholars Academy, and the request is that we accept the report as submitted. And so I will accept a motion on that.
I move we accept the report for Garfield Scholars Academy.
Okay.
I second that.
Okay, so motion by Dr. Bacon and second by Dr. Bashir Duncan that we accept the report as submitted by Dr. Smith. All those in favor, aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? No, motion carries. Okay, so then we also have similar requests that we invite Garfield Scholars Academy back in January to further discuss the report that was submitted, and then also have a probationary hearing in regards to their F rating. And so I will accept a motion.
So I move to have Garfield Scholars Academy back in January for a probationary hearing at that time.
I second.
Okay, so motion by Dr. Duncan, second by Dr. Moore. My words are getting tangled up, sorry. That we invite Garfield Scholars Academy to come back in January for a review of the report and to probationary hearing. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. Okay, motion carries. Next is Institute for the Creative Arts.
Yes, ma'am. Institute of Creative Arts opened in 2024. Currently, they are at 100 students, and so it's just a little bit, about 20% of what their cap is. Some of their root causes, they had their landscape analysis said everything was kind of basically tied to startup conditions. This is their first, or I guess technically second year of an operation, very similar to where Garfield is. They listed some of their root causes as insufficient staffing capacity and operational support during their inaugural year. They have an underdeveloped system for data use and progress monitoring during the first year. School-wide monitoring. Data monitoring began later than intended, and baseline data was limited for the students. Thirdly, the ICA reports the late implementation of key instructional resources and intervention structures, and which led to 4 priorities. I skipped. And so priority 1 was strengthening core instruction. Priority 2 was addressing staffing capacity. Priority 3, strengthening planning and intervention execution. And priority 4, which is aligning talent and supports to student needs. At this time, the Charter Office would recommend that this panel accepts the report as written and submitted, and that they would be invited back for a probationary hearing in January of 2026.
Okay, we heard the report from Dr. Smith on the Institute for Creative Arts, and the request is that we accept the report as submitted.
I move that we request the report as submitted by Dr. Smith for the Institute for the Creative Arts.
Accept the report.
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Dr. Moore, second by Dr. Bacon, that we accept the report as submitted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. I think we need to go back and pick up Friendship Aspire Academy Network
We need
next.
to bring that in.
Oh, sorry, I'm rushing along. Yes, so then we also need to have a motion on bringing them back in January for review of the report and a probationary hearing. And that's for Institute for the Creative Arts.
I move we invite Institute for Creative Arts to come in January for a hearing on a probationary hearing.
I second.
So a motion by Dr. Bacon, a second by Dr. Bashir Duncan, that we invite the Institute for the Creative Arts to come back in January to review the report and to also have a probationary hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. So we need to go back and pick up Friendship Aspire Academy.
All right, our last contestant today, our last school today, or actually is one of our larger districts. 7 schools are represented in the Friendship Aspire Academy network. This is all the other schools are basically one school districts. This is going to get a multi-school district. 4 of their 7 schools received an F rating this past year, which obviously is why I placed them in as an F district. As they looked at their root causes, basically there were 4 things. They said that the district hasn't demonstrated consistent standards-aligned core instruction with high-quality instructional material, that intervention systems were not consistently effective, particularly at Tier 2 and Tier 3 supports and progress monitoring. Thirdly, data cycles and PLC routines were not consistently structured or documented. And fourthly, engagement conditions and chronic absenteeism and behavior created some issues. In response, their improvement plan starting here for 25-26 was basically implementing an HQIM with clear instructional non-negotiables, increasing the frequency and quality of observation and coaching cycles, strengthening pacing expectations, and administering biweekly common formative assessments, and establishing weekly PLCs with protocols and monthly deep data dives. At this point, Charter Office would recommend that you all accept the report as written and submitted and invite them for a probationary hearing in January of 2026.
We've heard the report submitted by Dr. Smith on behalf of Friendship Aspire Academy Network, and the request is that we accept the report as submitted.
I motion that we accept Friendship Aspire as application as submitted.
A second.
Okay. I have a motion by Dr. Bashir Duncan, a second by Dr. Moore, that we accept the report on behalf of Friendship Aspire Academy Network as submitted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. We also have a request that we invite Friendship Aspire Academy Network back in January to review the report and to have a probationary hearing in regards to their letter grade. And I will now accept the motion.
So I motion to have Friendship Aspire Network back in January for a probationary hearing.
A second.
Okay. Motion by Dr. Bashir Duncan, second by Dr. Moore, that we invite Friendship Aspire Academy Network back in January for a review of the report and for a probationary hearing. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
At this time, you can decide when that January meeting is going to be. So that's your next vote.
Okay. All right. So we are now to our consent agenda. So I invite up Mr. Scott, who's going to present the items under that section. I'm sorry.
Do you still need me for the rest of this on the record?
Yeah. So. But she said she needs to go.
Oh, do you guys still need anything else on the record from me today?
Just the vote on the meeting dates.
Yeah. So I think it's our last time. Okay. All right. Mr. Scott.
Fred Scott, Office of School Choice and Parent Empowerment. You have before you a schedule for 2026 that's suggested for you to review and vote on accepting those dates, which typically is the third Thursday, the week following the state board.
So the presented item is the agenda for the next calendar year. Hopefully everyone has a chance to review that. Are there any questions about any of the dates? Any concerns?
Is it possible to have the meeting later in January, given that many of our schools will not have been back in session but a week and a half at that point?
Okay. And Dr. Smith is coming forward to respond to that.
Get in your steps.
Sorry.
Daryl Smith, Office of School Choice. I think at this point what we do is want to set the dates, and then if we need to modify the dates for one reason or another, I think we certainly can. So I think the vote before you is like, we set the general calendar for our meetings, and then for for holidays or for month or for schedules or anything of that nature, we can always modify the date. Yep.
So it's the overall third Thursdays. Okay, and then we can modify from there.
Okay, any other questions about the calendar? All right, seeing none, I will accept a motion to accept the calendars, the dates that have been presented for the next calendar year for our charter meetings.
I move that we accept the 2026 suggested dates. Let me remove that motion. I'm sure it doesn't matter. There's a typo on here because it's 29-26 for one of the years, but I don't think that matters in the scheme, does it? Okay, good deal. So I move that we accept the proposed panel meeting dates for 2026.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion by Dr. Moore, second by Dr. Bashir Duncan, that we accept the dates for the calendar year 2026. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
So now that we've set the date, not necessarily in year 3000, but, now that we've set the dates, I think it might be a good time to determine if you want to move the January date back, especially in light of our previous conversation as far as the schools that we were looking to bring in for their hearing. I think we need to probably make sure we get that date on record so that we can notify them of the date.
Well, I know I have a conflict on January 15th already, 2 conflicts. So if we were to try and do something, that would help me.
I have a conflict on the 22nd.
What about the 29th?
We can.
I'm good for those dates, but so I guess the 29th is not, doesn't look familiar or sound familiar, so, I don't know if that works for everyone.
As long as we got 5 of you here, I think we'll be okay, but.
29th would be good.
I can do the 29th, I just can't do the 22nd.
Can you do the 29th?
No.
There'll never be a time that works.
Well,
right.
possibly, is there a way that we can just like send out a poll for the January date to, because,
We can. We certainly probably need to do that in the next day or two,
Okay.
just again, so that we can notify the schools.
because I know Mr. Baldwin's not here and Edie,
Right.
is not here and Ms. Newton. we're not
Sure.
sure
Yeah,
what's-
absolutely.
And so,
We'll
if
send,
potentially, if you're not able to make it, if we have enough of them, then we can still.
Right.
yeah, we will send out a poll, a survey, to either, well, this afternoon or first thing in the morning, before we kind of get, everybody kind of gets into their holiday mode a little bit, and see if you guys, and then we'll, based on that poll, then we'll set the date. We'll let you guys know. That will also allow us to notify the schools so that they'll be prepared for that date as well. Okay?
Yeah,
Very good.
thank you.
Let's see, do we have the minutes or? Okay, next on the consent agenda are the minutes from the November 20th meeting. If you would please take a minute to review those and let us know if you have any corrections or concerns.
Those are just in the board book, right, online?
No, that's not in here.
I think we have to reference the board book on those.
See one more time.
There is a hard copy this time?
In the green folder, the one that I signed. Oh, look. That's all right. Just here.
I guess we all.
Pass them.
They're on here.
So everyone had a chance to review the minutes?
Almost.
Okay. Any questions or corrections? Oh, I have one minute. Any questions or corrections on the minutes?
I just
Okay, so everyone's had a chance to review, so I will now accept the motion on the minutes.
I motion to approve the minutes for the Charter Authorizing Panel from November 20th, 2025.
Okay,
Second.
okay. Have a motion by Dr. Bashir Duncan, second by Dr. Bacon, that we accept the minutes as written. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And then, okay, so just one last item that we have, and so bittersweet, we have someone that has served us well, most recently with the charter panel, but for years with the board, and so Mary Perry is retiring, and so we wanted to say congratulations, and you will be missed, and your presence through the process has definitely been felt. So I greatly appreciate your organization and your communication and your patience with getting responses back. But again, well earned, well deserved, and just wanted to say thank you. Yep. For allowing us to have that moment of recognition for someone that's wonderful and going on to another phase in life. So congratulations. Okay, so with that, if there is no further business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn this board meeting.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion by Dr. Moore, second by Dr. Bacon, that we adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We are adjourned.